Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you. Good, good. So, it has been a bit since we've done an episode of this. I've done an episode of another show, a part of which I got done earlier before this. But I need to get my brain straight before I do, or try to complete that. I had to split my sermon into 2 parts, so I figured I'd get my brain straight. And, I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, it's me and Scarlett, and we're back for another episode of Spectrum Talk, and we've been on hiatus for God knows how long.
Yeah.
I know it's been over a year, but we started up the channel again. I've been streaming, which I've been streaming a lot more since I got laid off, and I figured, hey, might as well do Spectrum Talk again. We should have plenty to talk about now.
Oh, yeah.
That, and I keep seeing every time I look at the analytics on the news stuff, some people keep watching the old episodes. I don't know why, but they keep going back to Spectrum Talk. So that's fine. I mean, good. Watch all the old stuff. I'm glad about that. You're going to notice some name changes, but other than that, I don't care. But, yeah, here we are. It is... I don't even know what happened in the last episode. Were we still in Austin? Or did we make one after we got back?
No, I think we made one after.
So made at least one after, but it's been a bit. Probably check. It's the last one updated because I have a new show that I started last week or the week before that called Sermon Time. That's my Christian stuff. Since I am an ordained reverend, and that is who needs a physical church when you can just do podcasting.
Nowadays, yeah. Well, I do have a question about that.
Sure.
I know that on radios, sometimes they have, shows, stuff like that,
Last
right?
episode published on the 18th of February, 2024. Yes. Oh, my God.
Oh, True Detective. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah. So it's been over a year.
Yeah, that show ended. It's so good. Such a good show.
So you were saying?
Oh, about the Christian preaching stuff. Isn't there a bunch of radio shows and channels that you can turn on and it's just people doing sermons?
I mean, there's churches that have their own radio or have deals with radio stations. There's Christian radio stations and stuff like that. Christian talk show hosts.
Isn't sorry to interrupt.
You weren't interrupting?
But on TV, don't some mega churches don't they have their own
TV channel? Yep.
Yeah,
a bunch of them. Correct.
Well, nowadays everything you can do digitally.
I just remembered something I have to add to this. I forgot to put in the description the music. That's because I'm doing the same background music.
Well, I mean, nowadays, you can just, have a podcast, YouTube channel and stuff talking about that stuff because, it's a lot easier to do that. Which is pretty cool, if you think about it.
There we go. Let me just save that. Also, I want to change my title just a bit. Capitalize not. Good. Alright, that's all I need to do to that.
Cool.
Alright, what were you asking?
Oh, about how, there's, radio stations and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's radio stations and TV channels and Twitch streams and...
Which
so
I
Twitch doesn't, from what I know, doesn't like religious and political stuff. Though there are some guys who have, Hassan's pretty political. Hassan's Ali's whole thing is leftist politics and socialism and stuff. But he's kind of the anomaly. Mainly because he's a brown Turkish Muslim and he has this huge following on Twitch. But he has acknowledged that the only reason he has a huge following is because his uncle I think is part owner of the Young Turks, and that's where he got started, and that's how people knew him. So when he went to Twitch, that's how he already had. If he hadn't had that, he may not have that. And also, he's fairly wealthy.
Oh,
his family's fairly well off, but he has also acknowledged that like if he had started off dirt poor and started doing that, he wouldn't be able to do it. There's no, at least not how he's done it. No one. It's a crapshoot. And this whole thing it's all luck based, all chance. The hard work doesn't get you there. The hard work prepares you for when you get a chance. And what really sucks about that is, let's say you do get your chance, you might be burned out. You might get a raid, or all of a sudden a bunch of people will show up in the middle of a stream or something, but it's at a point where you're playing a game that's not very good, or you don't know what to say, you're burnt out, you're on like hour 12 of a live stream, something like that. It's not your best moments, and then they'll turn away from you. So it's a bad. But political and religious stuff they don't like because advertisers don't like it as much anymore.
That makes sense.
So it's, if you don't already have a following, or if you're not really lucky, it's hard. They also don't like certain other content. Even the easiest content to at least get viewership on and to gain sort of an audience is stuff that is targeting children, which is something I never want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, bro.
Which is, well, I mean, it's anything children based. It's, Blue's Clues, stuff like that. And I never want to do that. Never, ever. And part of it is because of the care that I have for children. Despite me not really liking kids all that much, I'm terrified of them.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then there's their whole parent shit to think about. I don't like it. Mainly because I don't want to do something that's going to hurt a kid by accident. I don't want to say something. I don't want to. I don't know my own strength. That might hurt somebody. I don't like being around kids for a lot of that. They might ask me questions and I'll answer them honestly, and that'll piss their parents off. There's a lot of stuff, because I don't believe in lying, so I'm not going to lie. And it's when these things that specifically target children, that's where the money is, and I don't want to do that. One, because I believe that's also taking advantage of children. And there was a whole thing that messed up YouTube. There were these this is before even AI became really a thing. There were these generated videos that were targeting children, and they were of awful things, not even on purpose. There were some that were purposefully made.
Yeah.
And then there were some that it was just pulling from a bunch of random sources, and it eventually it started making the things that got the most clicks.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fetish stuff, just really horrible shit.
Yeah, it's really gross and creepy, because I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the Elsa, Spider-Man.
Let's get Elsa pregnant. Just weird, weird stuff. And that's one of the adpocalypses that happened on YouTube. And
so gross.
That's why you can't comment on kids' videos. If you go to any video that's labeled YouTube Kids,
there's
no comments on it. You're not allowed to leave comments. And when you upload a video, it'll ask you, is this meant for children? And I always make sure that says no. Because if you upload something, then you say it's for kids, and it has content in it that is not kid friendly, or it's considered not kid friendly, you will get super banned, and they'll come after you, and that's because of that. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but if they would have, maybe moderated their own platform, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, because it's also not just the animated stuff. There's grown-ass adults dressing up like Elsa, Spider-Man, and all that shit.
It was really weird stuff.
Yeah.
But kid friendly stuff, they like a lot of that, and I don't. One is because I don't want to make something purposefully for kids.
Yeah.
However, there's a weird thing about this. One, I don't want to go after it and then change later, and that's what a lot of people have done. They went one direction and then changed later, because they started just to make the money.
Mhm.
And I don't do this because I like to make the money. I would love to be able to live off it and make money and do all the things that I do. Not because I like money, but because I want to not have to worry about everything. Yeah, I want bills to be paid.
Yeah.
Whereas other people want to make money so they could be rich.
I do have a thing to say though, real quick. I don't mean to interrupt, but you reminded me of it. Okay, so like your new podcast that you'll have, you know, like how in fuck, I can't remember. Okay, the name of it, True Detective. There we go. That preacher guy with the tents and stuff.
Yeah, the tent revival in season 1.
Yeah, I think that was kind of cool because, like, I don't know why. I just find it really cool that a bunch of people are, like, traveling together and all they're doing is,
A
like...
tent revival?
Yeah, like, they're traveling...
You've never seen a tent revival?
No, not before that.
That was your... Huh?
Yeah, that was, like, my first time seeing something like that.
Not only have I been a
Or at
part
least
of
that I
tent
know of.
revivals, I've driven past so many of them. It's a very common thing.
Well, down here, like...
I always have the same tent. I don't know how. I always have the same tent and the stupid stripes.
Yeah, we're around the Bible Belt, right?
We're in the South, yes.
Well, back where I used to live,
Even Missouri is still the South.
Well, there used to be tons and tons of churches where I used to live. Like, in strip malls, there were churches. Like, that's how bad it got. Like, or not really bad, but it's like there were so many churches left and right. And I was like, okay, I get it, because, you know, we're in the South, whatever. But the tent revival thing, I was like, that's cool, because I don't think I've ever seen...
Catholic tent revival, that's weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, and I'm not religious, like, at all.
Catholics using revivals is interesting, because that's a very Protestant thing. Revivals are very Protestant. Of course, they have to use their own tent. Oh, their tent has windows. Oh, you're cool.
Fancy pantsy.
Oh, you're cool. You're Catholic. No,
Yeah.
there you go. There's a tent revival.
Yeah, we have to have the windows.
There you go. That's a tent. See the blue, the stripes,
Yeah,
the blue, and
yeah.
I don't know why it's always
It's
the same tent.
so cool to me for
there
some
it is
reason.
again. It's the same tent.
Yeah, it's got this vibe.
I mean, it's just a tent revival. Ooh, you got colored lights. You're cool.
Yeah,
Bouncy houses. They must be having an event.
That's super dope to me. Like, I don't know why. I'm not religious.
Alaska.
At all.
Wow, that's kind of scary to have a tent in Alaska.
But
I mean, there's some old pictures, really old pictures. What, this Appalachia? Sometime before colored photos? It's hard to tell. That could be
I don't know why.
50s,
but
60s. I'm seeing light. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why, but the concept of, like, somebody traveling around.
You must not know much about the civil rights movement.
Not really, to be honest.
Okay, well, that's a thing. Here's another tangent. Like, let's back up to my kids thing. You completely derailed me.
Sorry, I was just saying it's really dope.
That completely derailed me with something that wasn't related at all. But I was saying that the Logan, it's the thing about the kids thing is there are people who got that market and completely abused it. And it's the Paul brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Who are not kid-friendly at all.
100%.
Not kid-friendly at all. And some reason, they've never really been penalized for it. Mainly because they now don't say they're kid-friendly. But at a time when they were doing stuff on purpose. I'm not even talking about the dead body thing. That was...
Yeah,
I honestly think that was a mistake. Like, I mean, obviously it was a mistake. But I don't think he thought it through. Now, yes, they did have to film it, and then they did have to edit it. Like, they didn't just happen on a live stream. But, like, they filmed it, they walked up to that guy, they did all, and then they then had to go through an editing process, and then someone had to hit upload. So it wasn't a snap decision. But I honestly think that he didn't think it through. It's one of the small benefit of the doubt I get. I think he was just thinking about views, but they did blur it, the guy, and they didn't say his name. They weren't completely tactless with it, but they should not have done that. That was just a weird miscalculation. I never would have done. If it had been a live stream, that'd be one thing. You're live streaming, and there's dead people. You can't. There's nothing you can do. But yeah, they could have just cut that footage out. I don't know if it was like because nobody would believe you or something. Even then, someone could have said that you staged it. You can fake someone hanging from a tree.
Yeah. That's
not exactly new technology. But I'm not even talking about that. They've done stuff, especially his brother Jake. They've done he did like very sexual, promiscuous thumbnails and stuff like that, even though he was, I believe, a minor at the time and was like still doing quote unquote kids content. There was and I'm like, I don't know how he was doing that, and YouTube wasn't shutting him down. It's probably because he was making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But and now they don't care and they cuss and do whatever on their podcast. I don't want to do that because of that change. And also, I mean, if I could do multiple things, if I was in charge of like a studio or something like that, and had adult content or general content, and then also family friendly, and then kids content, basically being able to do multiple different types of content, I would do that. It's like,
yeah.
But I'm only one person, and when I'm streaming, I'm not going to pretend to be someone different.
Yeah.
And I'm making video. I also don't want to make videos for the kids to see. I'm playing M-rated video games. But if I take out my curse words and I do certain stuff, YouTube will like it better and it'll go out. But you're going to watch someone get sawed in half. I don't want a kid to see that.
Yeah.
When we're playing these horror games. I don't want, playing Grand Theft Auto. It's 17 plus for a reason. I don't want kids to. I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Now, of course, with my religious stuff, I don't curse because that's not the forum for it. I understand when to do and when not to do certain stuff, though it is hard to talk because the reasons certain people curse, because it's not just cursing once, it's cursing a lot, is I notice that I ramble a lot more just to have clear thoughts.
Yeah.
Because when you curse, it does the same thing as saying or and actually more. It can actually make you, there's a term for it, but it makes you able to speak clearer and think clearly. There's something about it. But when I don't have that to rely on, I either go a lot and it sounds bad, or I have to basically make really long tangents and circle back, and it's fucking annoying. And I don't have a problem with cursing, but other people do and such, and there's forms for it, and there's forms that you don't do it, and I understand that.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about something else that doesn't need that. But this is a general conversation, and it doesn't need censor on it. But like, I'm not just gonna go after weird like kid content and stuff, or no, I don't make cartoons. I don't make that. I also don't play games for children. I'm not doing any of this for kids. The audience is different. And that's like, well, why don't you make it for all? Well, if I'm playing an M-rated video game, then it shouldn't matter what I talk about, or how I talk about it. That's another thing YouTube is weird about, and Twitch in general. It doesn't matter what you talk about. It matters how you talk about it. Mm-hmm. So if I'm up there and I'm racist as shit, as long as I'm not cussing, I'll get ad revenue. That's a problem. That's weird. You can be evil, but as long as you're evil and palatable. And I hate that. My brain hates it. I hate it. It's like, as long as you're palatable. And it's not about what you say. It's about how you say it. And I'm like, I hate that. Unless you're the president, then you can say whatever you want. Unless you're Donald Trump, then you can say whatever you want. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Well,
or Elon.
It's because they're one of their guys, and they don't care when their guys break the rules. Because he was cussing during the debates. He was talking about groping people, all this stuff like that, and they thought it was great. And to be fairly honest, that right there is actually something I do like about him. It's one of the few things.
That he cusses?
I actually think about the content and what she says, which is why I don't like him. It's not about how he talks. It's what he says and what he does that's evil, and why I will never support him. But the thing I can't disagree on is it was really refreshing to go up watch and see someone who didn't care about what his speechwriter said, or about, oh, you can't do this because of this demographic, you can't do this because all the we can't do this in politics, you can't do that, and he would just say whatever he thought. And then you would watch someone on the other side, or even on his side when he was doing the debates, and how they couldn't fight back because they were trying to read these very well prepared, and there's nothing wrong with being prepared, but in politics everybody wants to talk in double speak. They can never say yes or no. They can't do this or blah, blah, blah. And Trump, even among Republicans, stands out as he's someone that doesn't do that. He just bold-faced lies, but he doesn't do this double speak crap. He may say something and it be a lie, but he's at least saying it. Yeah. And there's something to that. Whereas even on people that you agree with, who are doing good things, who are good, on, like, say, the Democratic Party, and you'll watch them do a speech and it's awful. They don't promise anything. They don't do anything. They're afraid to actually take a stand on anything. Even if they are working behind the scenes, what they're telling the people sucks. They're afraid to actually say anything. And then they, I don't know why we keep losing elections. It's because you suck. That's why. And it's a popularity contest. Yeah. What you people don't understand, it's that, and then it's like, but we're actually doing the good things. They don't care. Well, they do care, but that's the second part. The second part is you say that you're actually fighting for the good things and then refuse to fight for them. You give up. Oh, well, there's nothing we can do. When you have a majority, there's nothing you can do. When you have a minority, there's nothing you can do. But the Republicans can do whatever they want, regardless if they have the power or not. Right now, they have the power and they're doing whatever they want. But when they were in the minority, they were still able to get rid of abortion. They were still able to do all this stuff like that. They were able to do all these things that you said they couldn't do because it was law and they didn't have the power to overturn it. And they were able to do everything you said that they couldn't do. Yeah. Well, this is just that's how America is. You can't change it because it's against the Constitution. Apparently, Constitution doesn't matter to Republicans. And that is why people vote for them. If the Republicans actually believed in good things, they'd be the greatest party in the history of the world. Because what they do is they will fight for everything. And they will fight for what they believe in. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Right now, it's bad. It's been bad for a while. But, like, if they want to do something, if someone in their party wants to do something, it doesn't matter if the opposition says they can't do it, the government says they can't do it, their own people say they can't do it. If they say they're going to do it, they're going to fight for it. And they'll fight for it for as long as it takes to win. They were fighting on that abortion thing for 50 years. And we're always told, you can't overturn it, there's nothing you can do. The Supreme Court already decided on it. And then what happened? They did it. If anything, that shows maybe you should have made that not possible. And two, maybe all these things that we are told are impossible actually aren't impossible. Maybe the only thing that's stopping us is doing it, is whether we want to do it or not. So we have all these Democrats going, oh, we can't do anything about it. Well, maybe you could. Have you tried? Oh, you haven't actually tried, because what you did is you went and you looked and you saw, we don't have the numbers, we don't have this, so there's no reason to try. Whereas the Republicans don't look at anything and just do it, and more often than not, they win. Yeah. And that is why you have people who have all their principles are Democrat, but they don't vote Democrat. Yeah. They just don't vote because one party refuses to fight, while all the other party does nothing but fight. It's just for awful things. Yeah. It's very, like, yeah. Maybe you should do some fighting. And there used to be Democrats like that. There used to be. Texas had a governor like that in the 90s. Yeah. Not just Democrats, it used to be politicians like that. But now it seems like that Republicans are the only ones that have anything like that. Because when there are certain Democrats who try to be like that, they get shut out. That's all about money. That's all it is. Because they're afraid that they'll lose their money. Similar with the ad revenue shit I was talking about. They don't like things that seem risky because that doesn't make money. So politics stuff, religious stuff, even if it's for charity, they won't cater to you as much. Whereas someone that's quote unquote family friendly, they'll give you all the money or allow you to get more of the money. Even if it's really weird. And it's a whole weird, confusing mess. They're just. It's about what you say, or about how you say it, and not. It's about how you say it and not what you're actually talking about that matters to them. And then sometimes the content of what you say matters, because then the content, then it could be, oh, well, some of our board members don't like that or this or that, so Coke's not going to give you a sponsorship or whatever. You know, it's just some weird stuff. And when it comes to video game things, I find it very strange, because shouldn't most of the stuff be video game oriented? Like, all right, so we can't get these other guys. Well, but I'm playing an M-rated video game. I'm playing, like, say, Call of Duty. And why aren't you advertising other video game stuff? Maybe other adult stuff. Like, you don't expect to advertise porn in a Christian bookstore. Vice versa, you don't expect to advertise other stuff in like a porn theater. But you do have other Christian stuff in a Christian bookstore. You advertise, they get the advertisers that cater to that market. And they go after those advertisers as well, because that's what they're trying to sell more of that same thing. Same thing like a porn theater. They're trying to sell more porn. Like there's, you wouldn't, it doesn't make sense that you would take away everything or take away everyone's ability or hurt them. It's like, well, how about just give them that market? Like if you're all about beer, then how about we have more beer or alcohol related stuff? What does it matter? Oh, well, we don't like you because you can't get the Campbell's Soup sponsorship. So since Campbell's doesn't like you, we don't want anybody to like you. And it's like, well, I'm not doing soup content. I'm doing beer content. Like, why does it matter? Unless I'm making Campbell's beer soup, does it matter? Like, why? It's very strange. So then they'll limit who can see you. And Twitch discoverability is already terrible. At least with YouTube, I seem to have a lot better discoverability. And YouTube has started to care a little bit less. But if you want to get financed, if you want to actually make money off of this, you have to rely on a community. You can't rely on sponsorships and stuff. Then once you get big enough, what they'll do is they're like, oh, well, then you can get some stuff. If you get big enough, it doesn't matter what you say, how you say it, whatever. You do whatever you want. And then you can get some sponsors, because then the sponsors all of a sudden don't care and go, well, oh, but they have a huge audience. Now I want him to sell our stuff to his huge audience. Well, but what if he says this, I don't care. He has this big audience. So now they're trying to come after you to sell you on. And it's I hate it. I hate every aspect of it. But if you can't get seen, how are you supposed to grow an audience? And if it's stupid. It's really, really stupid. There's so much weird capitalistic crap that I hate.
I want to talk about something that I saw, which is political.
Like how you just went in there without a segue.
But that lady got picked up by those men and zip tied.
You're gonna have to be real specific here, Scarlett. You can't just say lady. What are you talking about?
At that thing, it was all over the news about.
What are you talking about?
I can't remember where she was at, but she was at this place and she was saying something and people didn't like it. And there was those 4 police officers who are not in uniform, picked her up and then zip tied her. And
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I can't remember where it was. But it was really crazy because...
Okay, so before you go on, I'm going to need a little bit more information so I can actually look up the story.
Alright,
Otherwise, you could just be talking about something you made up. You're talking about this, the Idaho Town Hall?
Yeah. It was all over the news. This lady, she was approached by, I think, 4 men. They're cops, but they were not in uniform. They did not identify themselves. And they picked her up. She said something, which is why this happened. But But these police officers picked her up, zip-tied her, and dragged her out of the building.
So, Teresa Borenpole was forced to the ground by several unmarked security officers. So they were security officers. They weren't police. Security officers, after asking whether the event was a lecture or a town hall. Coeur d'Alene, the police chief. Wait, hold on. Oh, the place is called Coeur d'Alene. Police Chief Lee White has said this action violated the First Amendment right to free speech. So it wasn't by cops, it was by security members of the Republican town hall that was being held.
Oh, she was asking questions.
Yeah, she was asking questions. Borenpole told Idaho Statesman that people who were cheering the GOP policies of the town hall were not told to stop. Whenever anyone expressed dissent, they were scolded. Her friends, Megan Coons and Tamara Signs Kremilis, told KTVB that Borenpole was told to shut up when attempting to ask questions. She was not the only person interjecting throughout the event, as several people were there to express their support for Medicaid. However, she was the only person who was tackled to the ground. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but...
To get up or be arrested, he then directs the unmarked guards to haul Borenpole out of her seat. Well, the security guards, they can't arrest anybody. She was asking men several times to identify themselves, which they did not do. Although in the video it is clear that Sheriff Norris directed the men to grab Borenpole. He then told the Idaho Statesman that he did not know the security personnel. Okay, so the sheriff's lying. So the sheriff is in the video directing these people that apparently he did not know. That or he's lying and knows the people.
Yeah.
Sheriff's been contacted for comment, but they did not respond. There were police officers outside the event due to the recent threat against Representative Jordan Redmond. However, they were not inside the event, nor were they notified about a commotion. Borenpole has also received a citation by the police for battery, as she bit one of the people dragging her out of the event. Wait, what? Wait, hold on.
A security officer?
Hold on. Okay, this is interesting. Why? These people who... So, you're claiming that you did not know who these people were and that they weren't cops, even though the sheriff told them to do whatever, blah, blah. But anyway, these could have just been random people doing this.
Yeah, and
they said they were security officers, but they did not identify themselves, and then she tried to defend herself, and you cited her for that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
This is Handmaid's Tale level type
Even
of
if
shit.
the police chief of the town said this violated her rights, why did you cite her? You can defend yourself.
Also,
by the way, you can defend yourself against cops, by the way. That's a thing you can do. You can actually do that. And, of course, Idaho, I don't know what Idaho's laws are, but in Texas you can do that, and there's not only laws, but court cases where people have killed police officers and have won in court, including one where they did a don't-knock raid against this guy trying to get his brother and got the wrong house. It was just him with his grandmother who had Alzheimer's, and they threw in flashbangs.
Oh my God.
Confused him, and they did not identify themselves, nor were they wearing gear that said police. So all he sees, or what he's able to see, was people running in. Now they said they did shout police, and then the judge, because what happened is they threw in flashbangs and concussion grenades. He then fights off and shoots several police officers with his own gun and ends up killing either one or two of them. And they said they identified themselves, but they weren't wearing anything that said identifiable. So the judge asked, and he claimed he didn't know what was going on. He was just trying to defend himself as per his rights as an American and a Texan. So then the judge asks, when the police were giving their statement, he said, "So you threw in what?" And they said, "Flashbang concussion grenades." And he said, "What do they do?" So they blind and deafen people before you run in, so they can't see you.
Or hear.
Can't see or hear you.
So if they yell police, it's pointless.
And he said, so you weren't wearing anything that said police. But you said that you announced it. However, before you did that, before you said anything about you being police or what you were there to do, you threw in something that deafened him to where he couldn't hear you. Is that correct? And they said, yes. This case dismissed.
Yeah.
He couldn't hear him. He couldn't hear him. If they would have just if they wouldn't have done any of that stupid shit, none of that would have happened.
Yeah.
So those people that died were their fault. And that's what the judge ruled. He dismissed the case and said that is your fault. You shouldn't have, I don't know, deafened a guy who you were yelling at. And the guy they were after wasn't even there. It was his brother. So that's interesting.
Yeah. This is disturbing to me. Like...
Well, it's not very disturbing to me for several reasons. Because this is not the first instance that's happening this month or this year. Or is this new in America? It's disturbing on a grand scheme, but this shouldn't be new to you. But then again, you said you didn't know much about the civil rights movement.
Yeah, I've been kind of checked out lately.
Wanna watch some traumatizing stuff?
No.
Let's do this.
Let's not.
I was saying, I mean, it's bad, but it's very strange, but the reason the news probably isn't picking it up is because this happens a lot, actually. And I just don't want to talk about it. Now, it's bad, and it should have happened, and it's awful, and it definitely is a sign of authoritarianism and fascism, but that's kind of been America's MO for a while. I mean, if you've never seen the whole civil rights movement, they were sick dogs on these people who were marching down the street. Those dogs weren't nice.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were ripping people apart. Like, it was bad. They were running over people with cars. I mean, the water that they were hitting people with was the best thing. It was just knocking them down, but they did worse than that. Then they killed some people. They hunted down people and killed them and tried to hide it. That's what Mississippi Burning is about. When they killed those guys who were trying to register people to vote and buried them. And the government heard about it, sent FBI to go find out what was going on. Because thankfully at that time, the United States government was actually taking an interest in getting rid of segregation laws. But if they hadn't, likely they wouldn't have sent anybody and nobody would have known what happened to those poor kids. But that's been a thing. In the 60s, it just happened to be that the federal government and state governments were kind of at odds. Because the federal government had decided that segregation needed to go, and they kind of wanted to be anti-Jim Crow. And it had a lot to do with not just precedent that was set by Eisenhower and then Kennedy, but also because LBJ was from the South, from Texas, and he grew up picking cotton. And he grew up alongside them. And he was not rich. He was very poor until he met his wife. And he talked about how he tried to ignore it, but he couldn't. He couldn't ignore racism. He got to a certain point, he just couldn't ignore it. And he had the power, and he had to take action. Because he saw these people who truly believed that black people were lesser. And he said he couldn't understand it. He tried to ignore it. So he talked... LBJ is a very complicated, interesting character. Because when it came to foreign affairs, he was terrible. But when it came to domestic policy, he talked about looking at these people and saying, I don't know how you can say that they're not human. When I literally worked beside them. I'd be dead if it weren't for these guys. And we did the same job. And it's like, what's the difference here? It's like, I had a lot of people that were smarter than me and all this. But then when it came to Vietnam, he was really, really bad. But he wasn't a military guy. Wasn't a tactician. But Kennedy was. Kennedy had an idea of what to do. And then he got killed.
I know there's been a lot of disturbing stuff in the past. I'm just saying, this is this thing I saw on Instagram, and it was messed up to see.
I don't know. It's bad. It's really bad. But
Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about the worst stuff that had happened.
There's a lot of stuff. I have not been watching the news lately because it is just getting worse and worse and worse.
That's why I'm trying to downplay it. In reality, you shouldn't downplay this. It's awful. It's a terrible thing. It's happening in this country, but it's happening everywhere. You're just not hearing about it. But the reason I'm trying to downplay it, trying to get you to think of it as a grander scale, because sometimes when you think of things at a bigger scale, you can do one of two things. It can either make your brain understand it, and you can sort of pull away and think, okay, or like at a really big scale. If you have to get out there.
Yeah.
You could think, okay, you can sort of separate yourself from it. Not to the point to where you don't care about it, but to the point to where you can live. Doesn't mean you stop talking about it or stop caring or stop trying to change. It's just a point to where your brain won't do the thing that it does, which is why I'm trying to downplay it, which is spiral and go crazy.
Yeah.
Because you have schizophrenia and it's bad. But
I'm not spiraling on this because I know.
But I do know what it sounds like when you do. So, but I don't want you to get too far that you become apathetic. You just have to kind of look at it. Now, this is happening everywhere, and you need to be aware. But that's not one of the bad instances. That's just one of the many, many that keep popping up. I thought you were going to talk about that girl that was found dismembered.
Oh, no.
14-year-old girl. Emily.
This is why I keep staying away from the news. Where was it? This instance.
What
Oh, I
was her
think I
last
heard
name?
something about this. I've been staying away from the news because
Well, if it makes you spiral, then do stay away from it.
yeah, because
You have your own mental health to worry about.
yeah.
I can keep up with it. Arizona, her name was... What's her last name? Emily Pike, 14, was found dismembered in garage bags on the side of a dirt road after she had gone missing. She's a member of the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation. She went missing on January 27th and was found February 14th.
Oh God.
So yes, another indigenous girl who went missing and was murdered.
This is absolutely horrible.
Yes, that's the one I thought you were talking about.
No, I've been staying away from the news.
Good, don't look into it, because that one opens up a whole can of worms that gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Including these other articles that are talking about other things that have happened. There was a I found this out when I went to Thanksgiving. Because I was gonna look something else up because I was gonna ask my dad about it.
Are you talking about the crazy murder that
Well,
happened?
I was gonna ask Dad about it, but I wanted to look it up first. There was a murder that happened in Lee County. where I
know
grew up.
Yeah.
And happened somewhere outside of Lexington. And it was a triple murder. Happened in like 2001. It's a triple or quadruple. The whole family was murdered, was shot. Like they were executed. And no leads. Never found out who did it. Nobody knows what happened. And I was going to look up the article because I'd found that as part of the Texas Rangers missing persons thing because I was writing something. Something that never saw the light of day, but I was writing something that had to do with missing people and a bunch of other stuff. And I was just scrolling through this, and I found this. It said Lee County and mentioned Lexington, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, when this happened? Like the 50s or something? 2001. I was like, okay, well, I was alive then, so let's figure out what happened. And when I searched it, I was going to bring it up so I could give him the information before I asked him. The first thing that popped up was something that happened in the 70s that apparently is getting solved, where they found a kid in a bag.
Oh, no.
And is it this one? No. This is new. Hold on. What? 3 suspects identified in Lee County homicide. 2 arrested. April 23rd, 2024. That better. College Station, man. I don't know this one. That's awful. Fatal stabbing. Okay, these are all new. But when I went to look it up, and the first thing that popped up was something about this kid that got killed. I was like, what? and I'd never heard about it. Come on. No, it's obviously not that one. What? Okay. There's a lot going on here. What's this? 2 days ago? Texas woman who vanished during walk found slain in haunted house before stunning confession is made. There's a haunted house? Dateline? Okay. Well, but where? Where was this? Brown County. Okay, this is nowhere where we are. Okay, so I don't know why you gave me that MSN. Where are we at? Okay, it wouldn't be those guys because there was a... Man, I wish I could have that. Huh? This is of another one. Okay, why are there so many dismembered people in Lee County? That's bothering me. The partial remains of a man were found in a wooded area field 5 miles west of Giddings, Texas on November 17th, 1984. He's estimated to have died more than 6 months prior to the discovery. He was estimated to be Caucasian, 29 to 38 years old. So this isn't the kid, but this is a different guy. What the hell? But they identified him? James L. Ham. From Michigan. Been missing since 84. Well, I guess it would make sense. He worked economic development? What got him? I mean, I'm glad they figured out who it was so they can give the family some closure, but there's some holes we kind of want to fill in there.
Yeah.
You're okay. Hold on. We had to. That's Bastrop County. Oh God, let's not look at that one.
Why is there so much crime here? What is going on?
Okay, well, it's not so much crime. There's almost 30 million people in this state. Oh my God. Oh, that's what the website's called. But also, Jesus, stop! You're killing me. That's. Hold on. There was this. Now I'm not gonna be able to find this one. I couldn't find the one I was looking for either, because I got derailed.
Mm-hmm.
And but I even told Mom about it. She was like, I don't know. I wouldn't have been around at that point in time, because she was either living in Elgin or Madisonville or Mansfield or something like that, because her dad's a preacher. They moved around.
Yeah.
It's in Texas murder mystery. I don't know how else to search this other than murder mystery. Like, what do you... Hold on. There's like a hand or something and like some clothes. I remember it was very weird, and they were able to find... Oh! This is from our newspaper. You won't let me read it? Okay. It's from well, not our, I don't live there anymore, but it's from Lexington's newspaper, Lexington Leader. Unidentified remains in 1975. I would like to, can I read the rest of it? No? Cool. Here. If I just sacrifice bodies. Oh no, God, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that stuff.
There's some shit. There is some shit that. Okay, so there are some stories that my family told me about some stuff that they just heard or some things that happened. Man, I really wish my mouse would stop double clicking. I have to get a new mouse because this is so aggravating. It's doing this thing where it's double clicking, so it's when it's selecting the autocomplete stuff. There we go. Yeah, back in November, Lee County officials worked to identify remains of child found in bag in 1975. So yeah, so I was gonna look up this other thing that happened in 2020 or 2001, and this popped up, and I was like, what? Let's see, on September 7th, 1975, a family was having a picnic at a roadside park off of Highway 77 south of Giddings near Fayette County line. The father found a trash bag under a tree, and human remains were inside. Wow, very plain language, but that is still fucking terrifying.
That's so sad. That next paragraph.
4-year-old girl. Oh my God. Or no, 4-year-old child. At the time, they had just a little bit of hair on the skull. There wasn't much to work off of, and they believed those remains had been there a significant amount of time. 3 holes in the skull. Not clear how they got there. So I couldn't tell if they were even bullets. Oh, they got the clothes. Oh God. I don't want to look at pictures. No. Case set and active for nearly half a century.
That's so sad.
Well, they apparently solved it.
They did?
Let's... This just says they're working to find it, but I thought there was an update to this, because the one I thought they figured out at least who the kid was.
Mm.
Oh, that's terrifying. I want to read that. Another story about this trash bag kid. This one's from 2017.
That's so sad.
What? Okay, I was living there at this time. What the hell? Cass County? What does that have to do with... Okay, so it's just a highway. Man. Highway 77 is a pretty big highway. I don't want to read more of that. I'm trying to figure out this one that trying to figure out... I would like to know more about what happened to this story of this girl. Oh, not girl. It doesn't say if it was a girl. I don't know where I'm getting girl from. Can I read the... There's no way in hell I'll be touching those bags without gloves. You people are crazy. Did they figure anything out? Like, is there an update to this story? I swear the one I read saw they figured out who it was. A lot of people have died by Highway 77. That much I know. It's a highway. People die on highways for some reason. Oh, God. Okay, that one's awful. Adoptive parents abusing people. That's terrible. Let's not read that one. No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, by the way, I'm not a true crime person.
Oh,
I
Found
used
Alive.
to be,
Okay, that's a good one. Whew.
And true crime is just horrible.
I like true crime when it's done right.
Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff because I don't like to think about it.
Man,
It's
there's
really
this.
sad.
Oh my god! So there's this documentary that I
sorry.
started watching, and I thought it was a horror thing, and I was like, man, and it was about an urban legend in New Jersey, and I thought, because I saw it on like a list of like scariest movies, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and it's a pretty recent movie, and it was a documentary, and I thought, oh, is it about urban legends? Oh, that's cool. So I went to watch it thinking I didn't do any more investigation, and I got fucked up.
Why?
Because, well, it starts off as like there's this urban legend, but it's a newer urban legend, so not like the Jersey Devil, which is a pretty old. That I won't even call that an urban legend, because it has to be urban for it to be an urban legend. Urban legends technically have to be from cities or from more modern. So these would be like folk legends. Jersey Devil's pretty old.
Yeah.
And there's this one of the like, monster that gets kids. It's just it sounds very similar to a bunch of other scary stories around time. Don't go out in the woods, the monster will get you. And then it's like they end up telling the story, and it sounds crazy. It ends up involving like an abandoned mental asylum and blah blah, and then like, and it's talking all these adults who like lived in the 80s and 90s when the story got real big, and they're like, yeah, and it's like, yeah, and of course we knew it was bullshit. There was no abandoned asylum, everything. And it's like, yeah, and they're all laughing. It's like, yeah, but it scared us back then. It's like, yeah, but we should have known it was bullshit. Jump cut, they're at the fucking asylum.
Damn.
And like, here's the abandoned asylum from the legend that everybody said wasn't real. It's right here behind me. And it's like, what? And it's like, oh, here's bloodstains. And here's that. Turns out the urban legend was real. And it was a guy who was hiding out there, and he was abducting children.
Ew.
And he did it for like a decade. And it was like, what? What the fuck? It was terrifying, because it's like, it was all real. The whole thing, all real. But no one did anything about it because they thought it was an urban legend. And I'm like, but what about the kids who were disappearing and like having stuff done, like crazy?
I'm kind of curious about the sacrifices that you were talking about, because I've heard some stories.
Oh man, there was
there was
Jersey urban legend documentary. So there's a few stories. I remember hearing some stuff, some weird shit. I still don't have the whole story on this, but there was some weird shit that happened in the 50s. The 50s and Cropsey. There it is. I couldn't remember the name, but I knew once I saw it, I'd remember it. We'll get to crops here in a second. I'll answer your question. So I remember hearing some weird stuff happen in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s around Lexington and Lee County. Apparently I was right, because in the 70s they were finding people in bags.
Yeah.
And my dad is like no help in this area, because my mom didn't live in the area until high school, which is where she met my dad, and then didn't finish high school, sadly, because she got pregnant. And but she even though she knows a lot of people now and like lived there after her and dad got together, she wasn't from the area. Though some of our family, it's weird, some of our family, like, there's a wide radius, wide diameter actually, circle of our family. Most of our family is like Elgin area, and though even nowadays, some of them have moved, like taken their long, like 100-year roots, or actually more longer than that, and then have moved to Lexington now, for whatever reason. And but my dad, Lexington born and raised, and grandma, her family jumped around, but has her family has solid roots in Lexington. So is my grandpa. though he had Alzheimer's and died. And I didn't get to ask him too much. But they had solid roots here. Though she lived in Texas City for a little bit when she was real little, and that's where her dad lived for a bit because he worked for some company. Interesting side note: my grandma was a part of the Texas City explosion.
Oh.
Yep. She doesn't remember much of it because she was very little. She was very little when it happened. This is also a thing that either came up in like Thanksgiving or Christmas because my sister, who I would have thought would have already known this story because I thought we all did. We all did, especially if you're in Texas, because you get taught it because it was crazy. Texas City disaster, 1947. So she was born in 43, so she wouldn't have been very old, but she remembers a little bit of it. Her brother, her older brother, remembers it. And it was either him or one of the siblings was scared of planes. I remember them telling me they were scared of planes because of the sound. So like, I mean, here because they were not too far from the airport.
Yeah.
Planes go by, they're kind of loud. Well, planes are nothing compared to what they used to be. Planes used to be loud. So like in our house in Lexington, we're not nowhere near, or we used to live in Lexington, my dad's old house, nowhere near any airport besides like the small Lexington airport, which is like an airstrip that people do like prop planes and stuff. It's a private airport. Nowhere near like a commercial airliner, unlike here where if you were able to do a straight line, you get there pretty fast. And when planes would go over the house, they could rattle the house because even if they're thousands of feet in the air, because of how loud the engines were. Planes' engine technology has advanced so much in just the last 20 years, let alone the last 50, 60, 70, because jet engines used to be loud. If you go watch some old behind the scenes stuff of some movies, a plane will start passing overhead and they have to stop filming. And then if they're in an area where it happens a lot, I remember I was watching Burn Notice. Stop chewing your fingers. I was watching Burn Notice and there's a bunch of bloopers where they're just screaming, cursing at planes because they're like in the middle of a great take and a plane flies over and just ruins their shot. And you'll see the plane and it's thousands of feet in the air. It's like a little speck in the sky. And it's ruining the shot because it's picking up on the mic.
Yeah.
And they used to be real loud. And he was scared of them because when they'd pass over, they were real loud and they would shake the house.
I mean, that makes sense, though.
Well, the reason he has this, I don't know how he connected it, but it's when the blast happened in 47, he was standing in the doorway and it was a loud roar and the shockwave hit him, like knocked him down.
Damn.
And he's been and somehow he
loud noise.
Yeah, it's basically loud
scared.
Noise and it scared he
that makes sense to me.
But it was but then he attached it to only planes. Even though it wasn't a plane that did that. Jet engines wouldn't be around for a while. But like just it got attached to that because someone asked, because my grandma went on a tangent about that. It's like, oh yeah, and then he was scared of planes from then on. It's like, why? And she's like, I don't know, he was just scared. It's like, I guess it was a loud sound. He just connected the two memories. But she don't remember much of it. She wasn't very old in 47. But my great-grandfather helped out like with the relief effort and stuff. And he was out and about when it went off. He was working for some like trucking company or something in the area, but it got so bad that they moved to like League City for a bit because they were in Texas City proper when it happened. They weren't too far from the blast, and the whole disaster was awful. Just the explosion itself was bad, but then it caused a chain reaction of more explosions and oil leaks and this and that. It's just awful, horrible. The biggest non-nuclear explosion in world history. Well, man-made human explosion in world history. Besides, I think Krakatoa is still the largest. Krakatoa might be the largest explosion in history. I have to look that up. I know it's the largest non-nuclear, but it might just be the largest proper because Krakatoa was pretty bad in of itself. The Texas. Yeah, now they're saying it's one of history's largest non-nuclear explosions. And not the top, because you had that one that happened in not Kuwait. Where was it? Where was that? That other one. Beirut. And it had about around the, actually had a little bit more ammonium nitrate that went up. That's what caused the explosion. And there was more of it in the Beirut explosion than there was at Texas City. So it's possible that it was bigger, but we have to do more investigating. There was also, when the fertilizer plant exploded in West Texas, the city of West, and I remember that very vividly. That was awful. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad. Only 15 people got killed, which is awful. But when the blast went up, it just took out the fertilizer tanks. There's these tanks that keep all that gas, and it went up, it just took those. But there was a fire that got started, which I believe it was set on purpose. They ruled it as terrorism. But that was a whole weird thing. There was or they tried to rule as terrorism. It was weird. Hold on. I know they got the guy, and they caught him a long time. Where? So I remember when he got caught, and I didn't even realize that they were even looking for a guy, and they had done that on purpose to see if he'd slip up, and they caught him. Maybe it'll be here in this article. But yeah, that was crazy, and it had a mushroom cloud. It looked like a nuclear bomb. It was real bad. And there was this nursing home that was several miles down the road, and it got taken off the slab. It was real bad. And but thankfully the explosion itself wasn't that big. Or it might have just been one of the tanks that went off. Was it just one? So if they all went off, it would have just taken out the town. It would have been real bad. The whole plant would have went up. Good God. But the good thing about explosions in fire is an explosion can knock out fires. And the other problem was the firefighters were there trying to put out the fire, and they were using water. And ammonium nitrate has its own oxidizer, so you can't smother it with conventional means. You have to use something else, and they weren't aware because they didn't know it had already got that was already on fire, because it was so big at that time. They just had to work off what they knew. They were just trying to get it out as fast as they could. They weren't able to stop it. It set off one of the tank. Boom. 10 first responders killed, as well as 2 civilians. So yeah, pretty much that sounds like the firefighters who were in the middle of it. Yeah, that was bad. But thankfully it didn't go beyond that. But I remember that because we had a trip that was gonna go, but we were a UIL thing, and that happened, and we were all talking about trips, and we were trying to make maps, like what's the fastest road and this and that, and then that happened, and then they sent out blood donation vans and stuff, and I remember giving blood, having to psych myself up for it because I was like, I'm gonna give blood, they need it, because there were a bunch of people injured. But I hate needles, and I freaked out, but I still gave blood. But let me see here. Blah 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 blah. Also, ammonium nitrate was used in the bombing of the federal building in Oklahoma City. It's pretty easy to make it explosive out of it, and it's not regulated at all, which is scary. Very scary. Should be regulated more, considering fertilizer plants explode. Yes, it was preventable, blah, 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 blah. Yes, the ATF announced on May 11, 2016, the fire that led to the explosion was intentionally set. Did they find the guy? Did they find what? Hold on. I gotta look that up. But the Texas City disaster was real bad, and she lived through that. So that was she has a lot of stories and knowledge, and my dad knew all about that. But my dad apparently lived through a lot of stuff and has like no memory of it, or just doesn't care, or it's like even stuff that he did, and it's like it's very strange. And I'm like I asked him if he remembered anything about the moon landing. And he was born in '64, so he still would have been young. He'd been 8 or 9, but I mean, that's old enough to have a fascination with space and stuff, and he doesn't care at all. He didn't even. And I'm like, what about when the Challenger went up? Doesn't know. Like, come on, man. I'm like, wait, he was an adult when the Challenger happened. Like, that was national news, man. I haven't asked my mom yet about the moon stuff.
Okay, so the moon landing, I get, like, not really caring about that because for a lot of people, it didn't really affect them.
All right, so here's the thing. So I am one of those people that doesn't care too much about space. On a scientific level, I completely understand that, and I understand exploration, and I like it. And NASA has also led to the invention of so many life-saving and just quality of life improvement measures and inventions and all kinds of stuff and yada yada. It's all great. We totally should put money into it, especially in terms of defense and also stuff like asteroids, meteors, solar storms, anything. There's a reason for it. I'm not against it, but there are these people that are like, space is everything, and it's all about space. And I'm like, hey, let's maybe concentrate on saving the people on this planet. Like people that are like, we're trying to terraform other planets, and I'm like, maybe let's terraform our current one so that we stop dying from all of the horrible natural disasters and shit.
Yeah, maybe let's get some free healthcare first.
Maybe figure some shit out. But but no, the space race was completely different then than it is now. Like, they went to space. Who cares? That's cool, I guess. Sailing rockets. There are people who are still really into it, but back then that was a country thing because there was the Cold War.
Yeah.
Now he wouldn't have known much. A 9-year-old maybe wouldn't have known too much about that or been into that, but like, that seeped into everything. There was getting to the moon. Also, it was the first time. It's hard to think of this now because you live in a world where that's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's still a big deal to do it, but it's like, going to space? I mean, okay, I guess that's cool. But the first man to go outside of the Earth had just happened. That's the first time. We didn't even know that was possible until we started doing it in the 50s. And then we were the first one to go to the moon, and we set our flag there. Only flag that's ever been there, by the way. And then we did it like a bunch of times after. People forget about that. We just kept going back. Turns out not a whole lot you can learn from the moon, and it was just a waste of money. And that's why they stopped doing it. It wasn't because we forgot or it was too hard. It's because there's only so much you can do with the moon. Like, and we have to leave shit every time we go there. So there's like 4 go-karts just sitting there, and there's a bunch of shit we left on the moon. And there was no reason to keep going back. But like, so it would have been an event. I imagine there would have been something that happened. Like, it was a big deal for the country and the world.
Yeah.
Now if we went back to the moon, it's cool.
Yeah.
But we've already done it. Now if we went to Mars, that'd be a big deal. But it would have to also be wrapped up into something else. Because like, at that time it was more than just going to the moon. No one had done it before. Space was relatively new. We just proved that you could do it. We were also in a Cold War with a superpower. This had so much. This meant so much. This meant that we could do anything. We could achieve anything. We were, there are people who believe that you couldn't even do it. Which is why that stupid conspiracy theory goes around so long. They thought, there are people that think that God wouldn't allow us to do it. Stupid crap like that. It was a big deal. I don't remember, but whatever. He was only like 8 or 9, so I don't, whatever. But he also just forgets other big events and just doesn't care. And I'm like, man, what? Like, I understand about caring about it now, but at the time you were around. I'm gonna tell you, but you asked about them Super Bowls. Remembers every single one of them. But yeah, so like, she's had a bit of a fascinating history, my grandmother. So my sister was asking her all about this, and then my dad was like, "You should know this and all this information." And I'm like, "Well, you're just a wealth of information all of a sudden, despite not knowing anything." But I knew all this because I had asked her a long time ago, and had also asked my grandfather and other things. Other people, because we learned about it in school, just like we learned about New London. Do you know about the New London disaster?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So Texas City, real bad. New London school explosion. So New London school explosion was March 18th, 1937. Killed 295 students. It was real bad.
God damn.
Real bad. We learned about this in school, and it was crazy for multiple reasons. One, Adolf Hitler sent a letter of condolences. Apparently was very upset when he heard the news of what had happened in Texas. It's a strange little, strange little fact that they kept bringing up. But teaching about, they had the letter too, it's like that's how weird things were in the 30s. We hadn't gone to war yet. They hadn't gone to war yet. I think he was still trying to get allies and stuff, and apparently he was apparently very shaken by the event of so many children being killed by gas, which that's apparently it only fits certain kinds of children, but because that is what killed it, was a natural gas leak. New London, very rich at the time. I think they're still rich, but there was, because natural gas is odorless. A lot of gases are odorless. And they had, I don't know if it was a main or if it was natural that seeped in through. Let me take a look here. It's a good thing that they, 1st through 4th grade, were let out early, or it would have been much worse. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out. I know what set off. They believe an electric sander is what set off the explosion. But I don't remember if they were on top of a gas main. I know they are rich off of natural gas. But was it? Okay. Early in 1937, the school board canceled their natural gas contract and had plumbers install a tap into the Parade Gasoline Company's residue gas line to save money. The practice, while not explicitly authorized by local oil companies, was widespread in the area. The natural gas extracted with the oil was considered a waste product and was flared off, and there was no value to the natural gas, the oil companies turned a blind eye. The raw or wet gas varied in quality from day to day, even from hour to hour. So that's the gas that comes off of the oil. They just wanted to use that, basically that byproduct, natural gas. Anyway, I don't know how that really factors into that. But yeah, odorless, difficult to detect, and may go unnoticed. Gas had been leaking from the residue line tap and built up inside the enclosed crawl space that ran the entire 253-foot length of the main school building's facade. Students had been complaining of headaches for some time, but little attention to... Oh my god, they knew... People had been getting sick, and they... Oh my god, they were so stupid. Because I was about to say, if it had built up in the main... like that, I thought it had built up underneath the school, but if it built up like that, people would have known because you would have gotten sick. Apparently they did. Anyway, it blew up, killed a bunch of people from a spark. Well, this led not only to the world freaking out and getting a bunch of letters, including one from Hitler, which is, they like to bring that one out just because it's so weird. It's like, yeah, never would have thought that we'd have got that. Eleanor Roosevelt, there it is, there's Hitler. The leader of the Nazi Party at the time paid his respect in the form of a telegram, a copy of which is on display at the New London Museum. And then Eleanor Roosevelt, the first lady at the time, sent a telegram. But this explosion led to them adding smell to natural gas. So that smell that you get is artificial. It's added so that when it goes through, you know exactly what it is. My only problem with that is I think it smells too similar to some other smells. I think it should be like real bad. like there is no other thing that smells like this. Oh my God, turn the gas off kind of smell. My brother worked for a gas company, and there's like levels of like when there's gas leaks or gas issues, because they all have to be installed. The natural gas stuff has to be installed at a main, and if there's something wrong with the house or they need something fixed, you call in and report it, and they set it at certain levels. There's like level 1 through 4, and I forgot the way they did it. It was either 1 was the highest or 4 was the highest. Depends on how they did it. Well, there was this house that I got a major leak reported, and somehow, some way, instead of being reported at the highest level, it got like switched to the lowest level. So no one checked on this house for months. And then one guy showed up, opened the door, and flipped on the lights, and it blew the whole house up and also blew up houses around it.
God damn.
Killed him and a bunch of other people. And after that, there was like a mass firing. Like they like redid everything.
God damn.
Yeah, it was real bad. So don't mess with gas; it'll kill you. But yeah, we learned about New London and whatever. But my sister had listened to this podcast about the Texas city explosion, and she had never really looked into it that much and decided to ask. And like everybody at the table knew more about it than her, and I thought that was interesting. It's like you didn't pay it. Like this was a big. We still talk about it. And then my grandma was having some issues speaking. Told us about it, and Dad told us about it, and all these things. Yada. So all this to say, she's had a very interesting life. And every now and then they'll talk about stuff, or there'll be a side conversation, and you'll hear, and you'll be like, "What did I just hear?" And that's how I know about weird cult stuff that happened, because there were some things that happened that I heard weird side conversations over. Like even at this last one, Thanksgiving to Christmas I was at, my cousin and my aunt were talking about something, and we were having our own conversation, and I stopped everybody, and I was like, "Hold on, did y'all just say child murder? Like, what just happened?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, this is thing that happened in the town I live in." And they've been talking about it, like, what is going on? Because we were talking about like recipes and stuff, and I hear about something about kids getting killed. What's going on? And so there's a lot of stuff like that'll happen because everyone's having their own conversations. And one time I heard something, and it had been something that I heard repeated. And either at the time or whatever, I'd gotten real interested into like weird history of my town, or heard some other stories or whatever. Anyway, whatever reason, I decided to speak up and ask some questions. I'm like, "What are y'all talking about? Like, I heard some weird. You're talking about this weirdness now." And this was when I was like 12, 13, something like that. You're talking about this weirdness, and I remember hearing some weird stuff in school about like cults and sacrifice. Like, you talking about stuff in the Bible? I'm like, no. And I was like, I thought, because you're talking about the town. And when I remember the way they were talking about it, and I thought, oh, they're just talking about bullshit that they heard, or like something out of a movie. Like they don't actually know this. And then my grandma speaks up. Yeah, it was real bad. There were some things that happened, and I'm not real sure why they stopped, but there were some kids and they got found. And I'm like, what? So what I remember, because I had to stop her and be like, you need to slow down, and you need to we have a conversation right now, because I'm in those woods all the time. So it's like, oh well, the people don't live here no more, so we don't know what's going on. So apparently there may or may not have been a cult. We don't know, but what we do know is there were these people that lived there, and there were kids that disappeared, and other people that disappeared, and they all got linked back to these guys who then, like, one went to jail and one ran away, but one of them was babies were being killed, and they this was something that was found. Like, it wasn't legend. Like, she was like, and I remember this and this happened because, and these people got arrested, and it was a big deal, and the sheriff, like, there were some child murders that happened in the 50s, and it had to go, and it all went back to this like same family. and this a maybe cult, maybe not. She says it was she definitely believes it was of Satan, but she doesn't know if it was like an official cult. But they were, for whatever reason, they were getting kids and they were killing them, and eventually they got ran off. And I'm like, why did you have to run them? Why weren't they just in prison? Like, what do you mean 4 or 5 people? Like, what? Over the course of years. And like, there was some other stuff and some disputes. So like, there was something that happened. At very least, there was some killers in them woods. And that's just the ones that I know about. Well, the ones that I have confirmation of. There was some other stuff that happened just because people are evil. And so yeah, that's some of the cult stuff. I don't remember all the specifics. I really don't want to ask about it now. I don't want to bring it up to my 80-year-old grandmother who has enough to deal with, who's recovering from a fall.
Oh yeah.
And also she can't really talk much, so it's there's a surgery went wrong and froze her vocal cords. But she had some weird stories that, and it would always take you by surprise because she's very, very meek, and you know, she's always doesn't like to talk about nasty things like that. And every now and then she'll just bring up something random. It's like the worst stuff you ever heard, and she wouldn't think about it because she lived through it. So to her, it doesn't register the same way. Yeah. It's like, do you need like an adult? You need to talk to somebody? It's like, yeah, back when they were killing children for fun. Like, what do you mean when they were killing kids? What? And I talked to some other people who around that time was like, yeah, there was some weird shit that happened. And I'm like, was this like a racial thing because of the turmoil? And like, no, these were white kids. That's why they did something about it. And I'm like, that's a terrible phrase. And it's like, what do you want me to say? You want to act like that didn't happen, that they ignored black people getting killed? I'm like, no, you're right. I just hate that that's reality. And it's like, oh yeah, it's like, we want to talk about that stuff. I don't know too much about it, but that did happen and nobody cared because it wasn't to white kids. And I'm like, but it did start happening to white kids, and that's when they started running people off. And I'm like, that's a terrifying scenario. Yeah. And if it can happen in your small town of 1,100 people, imagine what's happening, in giant places. So all that is to say, this documentary called Cropsey, 2009. The film initially begins as an examination of Cropsey, a boogeyman-like figure from New York City. So it's New York City, not New Jersey. I got that wrong. From New York City, from a New York City urban legend, before skewing into the story of Andre Rand, a convicted child kidnapper from Staten Island, whose known or suspected crimes in the 1970s and 80s may have expired or been blamed on Cropsey. So that's the key point. Not just inspired the urban legend, but his crimes blamed on Cropsey. There are other ones that he did, things that happened, that they didn't blame on the actual, bad guy, but they thought it was all made up and it's part of this urban legend. Horrifying documentary. It's one of the scariest things I've ever seen because just, it's real.
We should watch this then. I mean, you keep talking about it, so we should probably watch it.
It's pretty good. Definitely, if you don't know what it's about, it's a lot scarier. Because it starts off like, oh, let's examine this urban legend. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, this is crazy and everything. It's like, and did you know it was real? It's like, what? And then you expect it's like, oh, we're going back real far. And it's like, oh, no, he's like in court right now. Like, this is an active investigation. I'm like, oh. Yeah, court case in 2004 did not start until 4 years after his indictment.
God damn.
Yeah, so it's not like and the movie was made in 2009, so it's like, this was a very recent thing. And they talked to people who were kids when this urban legend was happening, and then they tell them that, oh, well, did you know that it was actually real? And then you just see like the blood drain from their face, and they're like, oh my god, like, it could have been me. And it's like, oh yeah, here's all these kids and everything, and like, I knew that kid, I wonder what happened to him, oh my god. And like, just the fear of like, oh, I could have died for being a stupid kid, and or died because I thought something was fake when it was real. Yeah, like, it just horrifying. There's another one called Dear Johnny that does not take the same approach. It's a lot worse, and that is it's actually about the case of Johnny, a little kid that got snatched while on a paper route and was
I
never
think
found.
I've heard of this one.
Was never found again, and it happened in the 80s, and it is the reason why there was such a shift in America, because this woman wouldn't give up, and which, good on her.
Which is also
everybody told her to shut up, and she went to Congress, she started hounding everybody and this and that. But there was a shift because though the shift didn't really take effect on the parents themselves until much later. Usually people who weren't parents when it happened then became parents. Gen X and boomers are like historically known for being terrible parents, just awful parents, because they don't care about their kids. To the point that the government had to step in and make them care about where their children were. There was a whole campaign. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? That's why. Because so many kids were getting in trouble, going missing, getting hurt, getting killed. Or and not even by people abducting them. I'm talking about they'd go run off somewhere, fall down, get hurt, and then die because nobody knew where they were, and they'd find them a few days later when they searched the whole town. If anybody had known where they were and searched for them there, they would have been fine. But they died of sepsis or blood loss. Shit like that. And the government had to be like, listen, you need to stop this. But they were just letting their kids go off and do whatever. Did you watch the documentary Class Action Park with me? Did I watch that with you?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's those parents. Yeah, go off there and go die. Yeah, and they just wouldn't care. And
by the way, that was a crazy ass documentary because
documentary.
It just kept getting worse. I was like, okay, maybe this is where it stops. Nope, it just got worse. You know those cannon things? Yeah, they were setting those on fire and throwing those at people.
Yeah, it just got worse and worse and worse. And then you got to the deaths, and
there's
I got
also
really sad.
Well, the funny part in one of those things is the fake death. That was a whole thing where one of the owner
they shot the guy,
and he had to fake being dead and stuff. And some of the people there complained.
He didn't fake it. What they did is they so he had this taser, this cattle prod.
Which is super dangerous in a water park.
And what he did was there would be these people that there are always these people they didn't want to obey the rules. What little rules they did have, or they didn't want to pay their ticket price, or they didn't want to wait in line or something like that, right? They're always these rabble-rousers. So he's like, well, what if we have one of our guys act because they don't know who we are.
Yeah.
Get in line and start doing shit, and we have our guys go out there and try to calm him down, and when he doesn't calm down, they just tase him and he dies, and we just drag him off and then don't say a word about it. He said if we do that, then the people who see that will definitely not act up.
Yeah.
So they faked a bunch of deaths in the park so people would stop screwing around.
Which is so wild.
And the police showed up because people called, they just killed a guy, and the police showed up. Apparently it was very realistic because they killed a bunch of people, and people called the police and they showed up and were like, so we hear that you're electrocuting people, and no, so they had to get all the people they did it to and prove that they didn't. And it's yeah, you need to not do that. And people are freaking out. It's so stupid. He's like, I'll pay you $300 to let me tase you, and then you pretend to be dead. And that's what he did. And just
back then you could just do whatever the fuck you wanted if you owned a company.
By the way, he was not allowed to do that. He just did it.
This dude just kind of
being allowed means the government or somebody says that you can do something. That is not what happened. He just did it. They eventually got stopped because it got so bad. But yeah, that was funny. That was one of the few funny things that they did.
Because that place is wild. Also, there's another thing that is super wild to me, is that apparently there was a highway that went through part of it.
Yeah, some people got hit by cars.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Separated the two parts. People got hit by cars.
If I think about a place that's designed for kids, right? I want it to be as safe as possible, away from traffic.
It was not designed by kids. No, the worst part was it was separated, and one side of the park was where they had all the alcohol.
Yeah.
They get drunk
and
run across and it wasn't highways, interstate, and run across the interstate.
Which to me, that doesn't even make sense.
Oh my god.
Like,
or the sex shed they had.
oh yeah,
Well,
that was gross.
I keep wanting to say like counselors, but they weren't at a camp. The kids that work there would like go and do drugs and have sex and shit. It's like, oh my god. It's like, well, how were you? It's all it's like, well, what else were 12-year-olds supposed to do? And I'm like, not that. Where are your parents?
It's a theme park.
Oh my
I don't
god.
know. Go on a slide or something. But like, oh my goodness. And then you know what?
What's sad is the people that did get hurt, because they did interview their families. They were the ones whose like family actually cared about them.
Yeah.
Like none of the people that like families didn't give a shit. Like, and I'm not saying those people deserve to die. That's not all I'm saying. I'm just saying it's like, of all the people to get hurt, it wasn't the people whose like parents obviously didn't care about them. It was the ones who like didn't even want them to go in the first place. But it's like, oh, like, go with friends, be safe, and they weren't even riding like the really dangerous stuff.
It was just like a slide,
like the wave pool, or the slide that killed that guy
because
when
he
got
like
slung off and hit a rock.
He like flew off of it because of
and obviously the family
curves.
cared because they would not leave that park alone and sued the shit out of them and
as
like
they
went after them for decades and still hate them, which is good.
Oh,
and
sorry.
What?
No.
I was changing. So what?
Okay, so you know what documentary I do like though is the
So the one that teaches you how to say documentary, right?
No, it was like The World.
Don't talk above the microphone.
It was like The World, but it was like for little kids. It was like to teach them about economy and how all that works. It was so cute. It was that big place in Mexico.
Are you talking about Defunct Land? Because Defunct Land does a bunch of different video essays and documentaries on like defunct theme parks. There was one on I can't remember the name of it. It was a theme park that was like Kidland. That's basically what it. That's not what it was called, but that's the idea of imagine a world, and it's got grocery stores and it's got jobs and like all this stuff, but it's all for kids. So it's like kids controlling the world, and that was the idea. And I just thought those places looked cool, but I don't remember what it was called because it started off in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then it got to America, and the American ones didn't look that cool.
Yeah, no. The original one in Mexico was
Kid
so
City.
done.
Kid Cities.
It's so dope looking. Like, oh my gosh.
The airplane in it, that was cool, and you could be like either a pilot or stewardess or something like that. Yeah, Kid Cities.
That was cool. I don't understand why this didn't pick up more in America.
It did. It got very, very popular.
Well, they shut down though.
Because there was where they sued each other and overreach. It's all about money's what killed them. Greed.
Yeah.
But there was a bunch of government stuff where they were like, let's make our own Kidlands that suck. But Kid Cities. Yeah, Kid Cities look really cool. Really, really cool.
Also,
the Mexico one looked better because I thought it had better sponsors.
Yeah, it looked so much better.
They had one American Airlines, which I thought was interesting. Was their main sponsor, and they had this giant plane or part of a plane in there that you went in, and it's like, oh, you want to travel, and you could be someone traveling, you could be a stewardess or whatever they're called, the people that go through the aisle and help you. I forgot what they're called.
Yeah.
But or you could be a pilot or something like that. And then they had McDonald's and they had Coca-Cola. They had all of the main brands, so it felt like the real world. It was really cool. And they gave you fake money. Yeah. They gave you Kidland money. And then there was but then when they went to America, they got different sponsors. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So in Mexico it was La Ciudad de los Niños, City of Kids. They had their cool little money. Where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there they go.
And like little cars and
Actually,
stuff.
I think that was a Burger King. Yeah, there's the really cool airplane there. So yeah, that's
See,
an airplane.
that's cool.
Where what you could be a school bus driver. They had in some of the bigger ones, there were these cars that were on tracks, so you could actually drive around. Then there was firefighters, and there were like pre-planned fires, and some of the ones,
fake fires.
some of the ones that they got really big, and became even more elaborate.
Yeah.
Wanado.
Super cool. And
some of them I didn't like the sets. Like this little big grocery store. Yeah, all kinds of cool stuff.
The tiny little grocery store.
There was
so cute.
Yeah, so there was this. I think the reason why a lot of them failed, well, besides the greed thing, is they weren't having fun anymore. So they kept focusing on the wrong things, and it wasn't actually fun to do any of these things. But you could buy things with the fake currency. There were stores you could buy stuff with.
Like food and stuff. I think at one point you could even get like haircuts.
But like the
stuff.
American ones stopped being fun.
Yeah.
It became weird. Yeah, and then the recession in 2008 kind of also screwed them over. But they were fighting amongst each other because the two guys that made it split up, and they each wanted to do their own kid city. There was also like a go-kart track. I don't know what that was about, but I remember, they had American Airlines, they had Burger King, Nestle, General Motors, Domino's, Johnson & Johnson, Walmart.
Oh, yeah, they had all the big names.
As well as a F1 track that went through the middle of it for some reason.
Damn. Well, at least
that was
safe, though. Like, there's actual...
Well, yeah, but like...
The hospital's so cool, though.
But it was about having fun and also being a little bit educational. And, yeah, it looked really cool.
Yeah.
I did not know about these things when I was a kid. Otherwise, I would have loved that.
Me too, bruh.
But yeah, the kid cities. I still think, the concept's kind of still around.
It's 11. I gotta go.
Oh, hold on. All right, we took a bit of a break, and now we're back. I don't remember. We went off on so many tangents, I don't know what we were doing. I know we were talking about the kid city, but we were kind of done with that. I was talking about Johnny, right? Where's Johnny? The documentary about the kid that got abducted?
Yeah.
So yeah, that started... No, that's Sopranos. Is it Who Took Johnny? Maybe it's Who Took Johnny. Well, I'm sure there's been plenty of documentaries about this particular upsetting incident. But that is what made that changed America. Usually a lot of other parents. Now, these parents weren't particularly like uncaring to their kids, but there was 2 generations of parents that just didn't care. Even when bad stuff was happening, they just don't care. Let them do whatever they want, yada yada. That's just what they did. Yeah. And then this event happens and changes a lot of that. Changes a lot of the U.S. attitude to it, because she went all the way to the president. She was very, very upset. And to this day, the FBI doesn't like talking about it. But a lot of things happened, including a pedophilia ring getting found.
Yeah.
That's when it got discovered. And there's an interesting bit where they catch a guy who is now out and about and married and has kids. No, don't say that. This has a good ending.
Oh.
He's reformed.
Oh.
And he got caught, and he admitted to being one of the guys that kidnapped this kid. And he also admitted to a lot of other crazy, sounds insane bullshit. And so they locked him up. He was 15 when he did it.
Oh.
And they locked him up. And they just thought, well, they locked up and they claimed that he might have been a bit insane, just some other shit, right? And they said, even though they locked him up for that crime, they didn't believe in anything else that he claimed. Right?
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about it is, even though they kind of there's something about it that doesn't work with me, because it's like, well, if you think that he's insane, that this other stuff that he's saying isn't true, then why did you put him in prison for this other crime that he admitted to?
Yeah.
Couldn't all of it be lies? If he's lying and you think he's insane, it kind of just seems like they wanted to put him in there. One, because they didn't like him, and two, just so they could say that they got somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of police do. They just put somebody. I am an ACAB, but yeah, I hate police in this country. Until we tear the system down and rebuild it, they're always going to suck, because even a good person in the system is still bad. They're not a bad person, but the system is bad.
Yeah.
Even if you take out all the people that believe in doing bad things, if the system still makes them do bad things, they're still doing bad things.
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to, if they're still doing it. Until you change that, it's like putting sugar on a turd. It's still shit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I do believe there are good people. There are good detectives. There are ones, and there's story after story after story of some of these good people getting fired, getting basically thrown away, getting killed, getting maimed, getting hurt, trying to do the right thing and being stopped by their own police department. And this has some stories of that. One of those people who I think is a good guy is the guy who tried to track down the Golden State Killer forever and was basically given up on until he got a call when he was in his 80s, in his 70s or 80s, from the author of that book. I just lost my train of thought there. The author of that book, what's his head's late wife? I just want to pull that article up here. Let me see. Can't remember his name. I can't remember her name either. But there's a great documentary about them too. What's that comedian's name? He's also the rat in Ratatouille. What's his name?
I have no idea, bro.
Michelle McNamara. That's she died. Overdose. Patton Oswalt's wife.
Oh,
Late wife.
that's sad.
You've seen the documentary, because we've talked about it. So you know that she died. She dies in the middle of the documentary. She died before she finished the book. We've talked about it. It's about how they caught the Golden State Killer. Well, don't just stare at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm reading
Well, don't be
the
reading.
article, bro.
Well, don't be reading. No. I didn't bring this up to read.
That's what I'm literally doing.
Stop it. Get off of it. That's not what I want to do. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is the book, and then also the documentary. Michelle McNamara, who got really obsessed trying to figure out who the Golden State Killer was, and ended up dying in the middle of it due to an overdose. But she calls up a detective, one of the guys who was working on the original case, and he had basically stolen a bunch of case files. So he had a bunch of stuff he wasn't supposed to have, and he had been looking at it at his free time, and had recently given up on it because he was like, nobody help me, nobody knows what it is, and it's been too long that I don't think I could find him. Until he gets a call from Michelle McNamara and starts helping her, and even though she dies, her work leads them to catching Joseph James D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer, at his house in Arizona, New Mexico. He was just living in his house. And he was also a cop, which is how he was able to get away with a lot of the stuff that he was able to do. He knew the neighborhood, knew the layouts, he knew the shifts.
I remember reading about that and listening to something about that where he actually went on some of the search parties for his own victims to make sure that they did not find them.
No, they found all his victims. There was no
I
search
don't know,
parties.
It was something like that. He went
No,
on
he didn't go on any search
parties
parties because there were none. He killed people in their houses and left them there.
Oh, then who am I thinking?
I don't know who you're thinking of, but you know who the Golden State Killer is because we've talked about it. We talked about this documentary, specifically about how sad it is that she died while making it.
Yeah.
You might be talking about BTK.
Yeah.
Because BTK was on the neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
We also watched something that had where the guy who was looking, one of the guys on the search party was the killer, or at least helped him. That might have been one of the True Detective seasons.
Yeah, I think it might have been. Wait,
I think it was season 3. Because they find that kid's body in the forest.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, this is real life. This was the Golden State Killer. And they did find him. He's currently in prison, probably until he dies. Of course, he's so old, they'd give him like a 10-year sentence and he'd probably die in prison. And, you know what's scary is I wonder if he has more victims that he just hasn't talked about. That we know about.
Probably,
because he moved states. So when he moved, so this woman here, Michelle McNamara, she figured out, and she wasn't the only one to sort of put this together. There were other people, including people who had written other books, but she was able to put it together and prove that there were like 3 different killers, and also, what do you call them? Burglaries and serial sexual assaulters. I don't know if there's a name for that, but that's the only way I could put it. Serial sexual assaulters. That's what he did. That had all been given different names because they were in different areas, and figured out that they were all the same person. And that was how they were able to locate him, because he was there was like the East Side Killer, there was the Ripper, then there was this other one. Because what he originally did is, the Night Stalker, the original Night Stalker, the East Area Rapist, and the Visalia Ransacker, and other epithets. Because one of the things he did before he even started hurting people was just breaking into their house and just, I don't even know if he stole stuff, but like he just like fucked up their house. And then he started breaking in while people were there, and then tying them up, and then just trashing the place, and then leaving. And then, like, he started very slow, and then worked his way up to killing people. Because then he started killing people in front of each other, and then he started, it's like killing whole family. Like it started ramping up, but it got worse and worse and worse. And she started figuring out that this guy all these different people who were doing different things and in different places were the same guy, because they had tells. They all did very similar things, even though their end goals seemed to be different. Because, of course, trashing someone's apartment is very different than raping and murdering someone. So 2 very different crimes. But she was able to figure out about how they did it, the way they did it, times, and because he had a ramp up that also involved him still doing where he was trashing places, but breaking in while people were there, and then tying them up and basically making them watch while he just trashed their apartment and then leave. Yeah. Which, by the way, that sounds bad, but may not sound that awful. If you read the book or watch the documentary and hear the people who are still alive's description of what he did, even though he didn't really do anything to them, like he just tied them up, if you listen to the description of what he did, is the most terrifying thing ever. Now, he didn't kill anybody for a while. Yeah. But he would make you think he was going to, and you didn't know what he was going to do, and it was awful. It just horribleness. But he did a lot of that before he got to doing the truly horrible acts. And then there was a woman that got away. But I wonder if he took a break for a bit and then started doing it again. Now, as far as I know, we don't know. They haven't said anything about him. But this guy, 13 murders, 51 rapes, 120 burglaries.
Oh my God.
At least.
At least?
At least. From 1974 to 1986.
Oh my God.
Now, they didn't catch him till like 2000. Yeah, DNA testing also proved that the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker were the same person. They just couldn't link it back to anybody, but they could figure out it was the same DNA. So yeah, they got him in 2016. Now, they couldn't really do anything because of the rape cases, because there's apparently statute of limitations on rape in California. He was 72 years old when they sentenced him, or charged him with 8 counts of first-degree murder based on DNA evidence. He couldn't be charged with the rapes that he committed in the 70s, but he was charged in 2018 with 13 related kidnapping and abduction attempts. Like different ones? The way that's worded is different. Yeah, because wasn't there... I don't remember if it was that one or another thing I was watching, but they had... that could have been The Outsider or something that was fake. But I remember they called... He had an idea to start calling around. And they called like this office. And they started getting onto him. And they started asking people who were around him things that he was doing, and they were like, oh, it's just another guy, but he has like these weird tics or this or that or whatever, blah blah blah, and then figured out it was him based on these tics that he had, or like he broke up with somebody in the office or whatever. And oh no, I know what that was in. It was in The Boogeyman, that book I read. God, that thing, I had to keep going back to the beginning to make sure it wasn't real. Because it's a fiction book that's written like a true crime story, but it's completely fictional. But and he bases it in his hometown. It's a story about he sets it up with he gets a text message from his friend, turn on the news, and said they got him. They got the killer from the 80s, and he tells his story about when he first got married to his wife. He moved back in with his parents after college while they were setting up the wedding. And he was setting up like his little horror magazine because he's a horror author. And while he was there were a series of murders. And he got involved with the press trying to help solve them, and they never found anything. And then like 30 years go by, and they catch the guy, and it turned out to be one of his best friends. Not best friend, turned out to be one of his friends. And then he interviews him at the end of the book, and you only get part of the interview. And then there's a sequel called Becoming the Boogeyman. And which I haven't read it yet. And the way he writes it and the way he describes what happened and the procedure, everything about it, I had to keep going back and like, this is fake, right? This is made up. Because of course, if you make something up, you can make up whatever details you want. So you can get real granular. So, of course, you can do that with fiction. But there's something about the way he writes it that makes you think, wait, how could he know this if it wasn't real? Because he made it up, of course. That's how that. But the way it's written is written so well. Richard Chizmar, like this thing, it's a really great book. But I had to keep going back to make sure I read the beginning right, which was, hey, this is fake. This is not real. None of this is real. But it reads like a real thing that happened. And it's pretty similar to this. And he had a lot of names. East Area Rapist, East Side Rapist, East Bay Rapist, Creek Bed Killer, Diamond Knot Killer, Original Night Stalker. Erons? Oh, East Side Rapist, Original Night Stalker, Golden State Killer, and the Ransacker. Occupations, police officer and mechanic. Apparently this all had to do with this fucking divorce that he had. Or no, not even a divorce. It was there's the thing. So it was all about this girlfriend that broke up with him because somebody mentioned him talking about this girl. He was mumbling it to himself. So I'm like, God damn it, Sharon or something like that. I don't remember the woman's name. And that's what started it. It was this obsession with this woman. So he started, basically all the women that he killed all looked like this woman. Ooh. And no, Sharon's the woman that he was currently married to, who divorced him in 2019 after finding out he was the fucking Golden State Killer. Which, good on her.
Yeah, that's...
Good on her for not sticking that out. No, divorced him in 2019 after finding out he was the killer. They have 3 children. God.
Oh my God, those poor kids.
Oh, it gets worse. He was active 1974, 1996.
Good on her. Good on her.
They got married in 1973, a year before he started killing people.
So she was with him.
Well, she didn't know.
Well, yeah, but like
nobody knew.
That's horrifying to think about because like she didn't know this entire time, and that's really scary.
I mean, thank God he wasn't like a kid killer or a family killer.
Yeah,
because he
family annihilator.
Could have been that guy that they get married and then killed people.
Yeah.
I forgot what they called him. There's a movie called The Stepfather about that. No, Family Annihilator is not that. Family Annihilator is someone that loses. It's like they lose their job and they lose all hope, and then they kill their family and themselves.
Yeah.
and it's something where they are viewed as like the head of the household and they control everything, so they can't bear to tell their family that they failed, so they decide to kill them and themselves. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I understand being so depressed you want to kill yourself. I don't understand killing your family.
Yeah.
Killing your kids, killing your wife, taking away their agency. Like that, like why? Why the hell would you do that, you evil, stupid, fucked up person? No, there is a, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's people who marry and then kill their families, and then
Specifically
marry
to do
someone else and then kill. Yeah, there's the movie.
That's
The
weird.
movie The Stepfather is about this, where he is the stepfather, and then slowly but surely he like kills the family. Yeah, I know they remade it in 2009. Having killed his previous family and changed his identity. So, a life of loosely based on a life of mass murderer John List. So yes, killed his wife, mother, and 3 children at their home, blah, 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 then disappeared. And then he assumed a new identity, remarried, and eluded justice for 18 years. Wait, did he kill that family too? 5 counts of first-degree murder. No, the other woman just divorced him. Who else did he kill? Because wife, mother, and child, that's 3 people. We're missing 2. Oh, 3 children. Oh, okay. Good Jesus. Well, based loosely on this guy. But there was a, I don't know how many people have tried to do it, but the of changing your identity and killing again. There's that weird thing where, she may never have known it because he might have been a good husband.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
There's a weird, really, really weird thing, where it's like it's something that angers me. Of people who are bad fathers. I don't mean failed fathers. I mean people who are bad to their family for no reason. Who are just bad fathers and knowingly are bad fathers. Mm-hmm. I don't mean people who fail or circumstance. I'm talking just people who do bad shit and never own up to it and just bad fathers, bad mothers. You definitely know that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the both parts.
That piss me off because there are these people who are horrific, awful monsters.
Yeah.
And all their families do is talk about how good of a person was, how good of a husband they were, how faithful they were, how great they were with their kids. All their kids talk about how great they were, and they were loving and this and that, and they were always there. They were at every recital. They were, everything. All these people told them how much they loved them, and they played with them, and they were also involved in their lives, and then find out they were raping and killing people. The Iceman was one of those people. He was a mob enforcer who killed people and is a sociopath. He does not feel that. He was a great husband and father. Ted Bundy. He was married and had kids and adopted those children. And everyone talks about how good of a father he was. Like all his his kids who are under different names and everything because they don't want people talking to them about this horrible shit. But when they did, his wife and stuff, I mean, they were some of his biggest defenders because they couldn't believe that he did it. And of course, he was always like, "Oh, I'm innocent," and blah 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 blah. Talked about him being a good guy.
Yeah.
And they couldn't believe it because he was so good at home.
Yeah. Well, earlier.
Yeah, spouses not married 1980, divorced 1986, children 1, but he but she's talked about it and is like, hey, they both talk about it. It's like I never would expect it because he was such a good husband, and he was, he's never late, and he was always loving and this and that. Also, he worked for like the suicide hotline. He was this great person, and he was not just killing people, he was raping and torturing women.
Yeah.
And doing all, like just the worst person you could imagine. John Wayne Gacy was also known to be a good guy to like friends and family.
Yeah.
Even to the wife that left him and took the kids. He talked about he didn't care about her, but he was sad that he didn't get to see his kids anymore. And I was like, and it's the only time you actually see him, or you don't really see him. It was an audio tape. Hear him say anything where there's some regret in his voice.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's put on. And I'm like, so he actually liked his kids, but what was he doing? He was raping and murdering children, specifically children. There were some men, but it was specifically children. And it's like, so there's all these awful people who apparently are great with their families, but you can't even be good to your family.
Yeah.
Like, what's your excuse? Like, I don't. And then there are people of people who aren't bad people, but who are going through awful times, and going through horrible shit, but they're still good fathers. And they're not afraid to explain to their family, hey, I'm going through some rough shit, we're going through a rough time, blah, blah, blah. They're still good people. They can still be good, even if they fail here and there. Failure is not what makes a good person. But, like, you got all these people who are, like, the epitome of both successful and great family man and all that. Bugsy Malone. Mafia. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Cheated on his wife. He was a serial cheater. Didn't hate her. He didn't want her to hurt. That's why he was hiding it from her. And she actually asked him to get divorced, and he was sad. And he did. It's like, I don't want you to be hurt. And it's like, but also our girl. I don't want her to be sad. It's like, well, we can't keep doing this. So they get divorced, and he always made sure that she had plenty of money and this, and he wanted to take care of her daughter because he was like, I can't. He always wanted to love her and make sure that she felt love and all this, and he's always wanted to make sure he was like a great father to his daughter while going out murdering people and burying bodies in the desert and shit. It's like, why like, and now he wasn't particularly a good husband, but he was good to his wife. Like, he was cheating on her, and that's awful, and that's a betrayal.
Yeah, but
it's
not.
He wasn't beating on, like, he wasn't doing the things he was doing to her. And when she wanted out, he didn't keep her there. He only kept her. It's like, we got to think of the kid. And when she left, he didn't fight her in court. He didn't do all this thing. He wanted to make sure that she was set up, always got money, was always living in a good house, and that she was always taking care of the kid. The only thing he ever remotely fought on was visitation rights. And he goes, you don't ever keep my kid away. And she goes, I'm not going to keep your kid away from you. You're a great father. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, you can leave. That was the only thing he cared about. It was like, I'm going to be a good father. And he was. It was really weird.
Yeah. Well, earlier I wasn't saying, like, oh, his wife, like, knew the whole time. No, like, obviously she didn't know, but it's good that she left when she found out all this shit. And it's very scary. Like, in her
No, not Bugsy Malone. What was this guy's name?
In her POV, she doesn't
Siegel.
know this is going on. This man that lives with her and her kids, like, is doing this horrific stuff that you don't know about. That's really scary to me, is, like, they didn't know, like, the whole time.
It's terrifying. On the flip side, and this is also a little fucked up, there's people that be like, oh, I never knew anything, and then you go and look, and it's like, but they told you. Like, whenever these shooters do something, shoot up a school, it's like, oh, he's such a good kid, I never would have known anything.
No, there was always signs.
And it's like, it's not only there's signs, it's like, well, he told about you, it's documented, he kept all these journals, he went to therapy, the state knew it, and didn't do anything about it, and it's like, everyone failed him.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone failed. I mean, it's like, it's one thing for everything to fail. Don't act like you didn't fail, though. Don't say, I didn't know anything. Well, didn't he talk to you about wanting to kill people and, like, cutting stuff up? Oh, well, yeah, but he did that all the time, but we didn't think anything of it.
Oh,
hey,
didn't he kill animals and shit?
Didn't he do all these horrible things? Oh, well, he did those, but we didn't think anything of it. Well, fuck you. You obviously don't care about your kid.
He wore flashy clothes and participated in New York City
Bugsy
nightlife.
Siegel, not Bugsy Malone. Bugsy Malone was a movie. Bugsy Siegel is the guy who did this, the mobster. Killed in 1947. But he He was divorced a year before he died. And even then, I believe even in his death, I don't know if it was a gunshot. I don't remember if it was like an assassination or if... Because in all things, he also didn't go after people's families. He didn't go after people's families, and they...
Well, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, the Mafia used to have rules.
Yeah.
Mafia used to have rules.
Because...
oh, yeah, he was also Jewish. So he's one of the rare Jewish mobsters.
Oh.
Last name's Siegel.
Interesting.
But he did work with... He did work with the Italian Mafia. Wasn't he also Italian? Yeah, Italian-Jewish. Because he wanted to invest heavily in... one of his big things was fighting against Mussolini and Italy and wanting to end fascism.
He had 2 daughters.
Yes, he did. And that was a thing. They were like, hey, that's what the government's for. And he's like, yeah, but we got millions of dollars. Why don't we help them out?
Yeah,
like,
we're the mob, bro.
He's like, let's help him out. And he's like, help out the government? And he's like, yeah, to stop the Nazis. And he was very... It's just so weird. He was not a good person by any means. He was also crazy and a bunch of other shit. But like he had some stances that made a lot of sense. One, not liking Nazis or fascists. He was not a fan. And he wanted to try to take them down himself. He actually wanted to plot the assassination of Mussolini, if I remember correctly.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah, he wanted to do it because he knew that the Italian Mafia, they were still active in Italy. They still had connections. And it's like, if anybody can do it, it can be us. Or maybe... Oh, no, here it is. I thought I had that wrong. So, yes. So, Adamite, according to Siegel's account, was a new type of explosive substance that detonated without sound or flash, and Siegel attracted the interest of Benito Mussolini and the Axis powers to purchase it. Mussolini advanced 40,000 to have Adamite scaled up, but Siegel failed to detonate the explosive. Oh, wait, hold on. Ah, okay. I thought... Interesting. Well, the movie lied. I thought he tried to assassinate him. Interesting. I didn't know he actually saw Mussolini and it failed. There's a movie about him. I've seen a few of them, and they always talk about him hating Mussolini. Interesting. Hold on. I gotta look into this now. Maybe if I know how to spell it right. I don't want to read the Wikipedia. Blah, 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 blah. But he also wanted to murder dictator Benito Mussolini.
Yeah.
Okay. But was this hill... Or was this claim correct? I mean, it would make sense. He was Jewish and Italian.
Yeah.
Okay. That didn't give me. Bugsy Siegel and the plot to assassinate Goring. I don't care about Goring right now. I mean, yeah, he sucks too, but what about the plot to kill Mussolini?
Interesting.
My whole point being is I don't understand why certain people are bad, like or bad to their families. The idea is that, like, I also don't understand why you're only good to your family. But the idea is that if you're good to anyone, you're good to their family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That at least makes sense. There's logic to it. I don't believe that it should be that way. You shouldn't just be good to your family. You also don't necessarily owe your family, especially if you're a kid. You didn't choose to come into this world. But it makes sense. You're good to the people you're close to.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be good to everybody. My point being, why are you shit to your family?
Yeah.
That's just strange. Why? Well, not necessarily to your family, because one, there are people who don't deserve your kindness. But it's like, why are you bad to your kids? That doesn't make any sense. They didn't choose to be here. You brought them here, and then you choose to be bad to them? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, he bragged about it, but does that mean he actually wanted to do it? Whatever. Okay, let's get on to Johnny. So yeah, disappeared 1982. And he was the first to be on the milk cartons and all that, which I've never seen in person, because all our milk's in plastic jugs. But she went, his mother Noreen, like, would never give up. Still hasn't given up. If she's still alive. I think she's still alive. And she also believes that he is still alive and claimed, though there is no evidence, that claims that he visited her. Yeah, 1997. But then said not to find her. Or not to find him, I mean. Just he wanted her to know that he was alive. And he's never been seen again. Now, we don't know if that's true. We don't know if she made that up and whatever, because she kind of has lost it a little bit.
I mean, I don't blame her for
now,
that.
At some point in time, in 1993, he got divorced in 1993. No, that's not the part I want. It received new publicity in 2006 when his mother said she found photographs on her doorstep depicting Gosh in captivity. Some of the photos received were said to be children from a case in Florida. However, one boy in the photos was never identified, and Noreen believes that is Johnny. Now, where is the guy? There was this guy. He's in the documentary. I wish I could figure it out without having to watch the documentary again. No, don't tell me about the state of Florida. I thought that was going to link me back to the case in Florida. Because he also had it was either a tattoo or a brand on him, and it was of this pedophile ring, and they ended up finding a bunch of stuff. Wait, so there were other cases of disappearances in the same area? And the authorities like, oh, we don't think they're related. Really? Other paper boys that were also abducted? How about we think they're all related? Just, yeah, maybe. Let's see here. Yeah, that was the people, the fraud by wire case, the people that were basically were fleecing these poor people for money, thinking they were claiming to be a detective looking into their son's disappearance. So that was pretty bad. It's gonna bug me. I want to figure out who this guy was. That's the disappearance. Oh, I like how now it brings up the article, the Wikipedia. Man, AI's terrible. Even though earlier I had to actually look up the disappearance to get the Wikipedia article show up. But who? Paul Benaki. Hold on, me. It's weird to list real people as cast members, but okay. Who is Paul? Yeah, I think it's this guy.
Oh, yeah, it's him.
Interesting. So it was a hoax? That's not what the documentary said. Also, this is not about... It's about the prostitution ring allegations. Doesn't like talking about it. Yeah, I knew all that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but he's in the movie. Or in the documentary. Because there was a guy, that might have been him who was talking about it, but there was a guy that was like, that was probably him, because it's talking about that pedophilia ring. But there was one that they did find. There was some stuff that they were like, oh, this, something was real here. Because he was part of it. And then he's since been released, and he got, he seems to have gotten better. But, was it Paul? I guess it was Paul Bonatti. I wish there was an article just about him and not about the court case. And from a grand jury. Yeah. But then they got thrown out because they thought it was a carefully crafted hoax. But then they said that it wasn't. There was also, you know what's interesting about this is there was something that happened in Texas about a pedophilia ring that they did find out that was real. Embezzlement of funds? Well, that's interesting. What does that have to do with this? Okay, interesting. So only one person got charged with perjury, but Paul didn't. And then he filed a suit against King. Hold on, what's going on here? Centered on Lawrence E. King Jr., who ran the now-defunct Franklin Community Federal Credit Union. So the grand jury didn't find, or they claim they didn't find any evidence of a pedophilia ring, but they found a shit ton of other stuff, like embezzling $39 million, and actually sentenced King to 15 years in prison. Interesting. Huh. But yeah, there was a big, this kind of changed everything, and people started realizing, well, one, that it wasn't a rash of kidnappings. The kidnappings had been happening. It's just people finally got paid attention, and it scared a whole generation.
Yeah.
Like, my mother was terrified of this shit when I came around. Not so much with my brother and sister, but I was born much later. I was born in 96. My sister was born in 83, so there's over a decade there.
Yeah.
And she's very, very scared of all this other stuff, of being abducted and all this crap.
Makes sense.
And not
though.
necessarily without reason. I just think she
Yeah.
took it a bit too far in some aspects. But like, there was this and Amber Alerts. So Amber Alerts
yeah, that one girl.
it didn't exist until 2004? 2001 or something like that. Hold on. Where's that? Yeah, I know who it's after. It's named by, but when did it start? When did the system start? Because at first it was a radio thing. It was people on radio stations saying it. Like, hey, we got something. Make sure to be looking out for this girl. And they would just read it off. And then finally they did decide to make a system. And she went to the state legislature and she went to Congress and talked to the president. And it is an incredibly effective system since it's been put in place. They have stats, and it's like most people are found.
Mm-hmm.
And they have stats before that, and it's not good. Like, it is an incredibly useful system. Just people knowing about it is enough to get people found.
Damn.
Just putting the idea in someone's head to be on the lookout in their area gets people found, including police, because police won't even think to look in. But when there's a national alert, all of a sudden they start thinking about it. And I'm like, maybe you should be looking into shit at your town to begin with.
Yeah.
2000. Or no, hold on. So when was the first one? So there were state systems before that. And then 26 states have established the Amber Alert system in 2002. 2005. That's when all 50 states had operational programs. But it was because in 1996 in Arlington, a little
God.
girl got abducted and killed.
Multiple. Oh my God. Sorry.
What are you reading now?
Cause of death: multiple knife wounds to the throat.
Oh yeah, yeah. At least she was.
So somebody was just stabbing her
I
in
think she
the
was
throat.
decapitated, or almost decapitated. Oh yeah, it's awful.
Not just like slitting.
Yes,
her
it was
throat.
awful.
Stabbing.
And they never
her.
caught the guy.
Oh my God.
Never caught the guy.
Horrible.
And the reason they were given is because by the time they started looking for her, it was too late. Like, there was just too much time had gone by. And that's why she was like, there needs to be a system. There needs to be a system that does this. Also, both her parents are present when Bill Clinton signed into law the National Sex Offender Registry. You ever heard of FBI's Most Wanted?
Yeah.
Like the show?
Yeah.
Or no, not America's Most Wanted. The show?
Yeah, I've heard
It's
of
like
it.
this
I
old
think.
guy who comes up here and it's like, we got America's Most Wanted. And it goes down a list and it has like reenactments of what happened.
Yeah.
Do you know why that exists?
No.
Or who that guy is? That the announcer is not just some paid actor. That is a guy whose son was abducted and decapitated.
Oh my God.
They found his head, I believe, in a dumpster. They never got the guy. And basically everybody failed him. And he said, yeah, Michael Linder.
They didn't find the rest of his body?
I don't think they ever found the rest of his body. We can read here. And he was like, all right, if you can't help me, I'm going to do something myself. And he started America's Most Wanted, which was to let everybody know. And it became a very popular TV show. And it was to let everybody know all these people who are the most wanted, because they put this guy on a wanted list. What had happened, what these people who had done, what they might look like, who to call. And that's why it got started, is because someone killed his kid. Or not Michael Linder, at John Walsh. So, 1981, he was an official with the Paradise Island Hotel and Casino.
His son was 6.
Yeah, it was a young kid. It's a very young kid.
I thought he meant like an adult child. Adult kid, not
No,
child,
his
sorry.
young child was horrifically murdered.
Oh my god.
It's 43 years ago. Murdered by strangulation, beheading, and okay. How do we know he was strangled? Oh, hold on. He was abducted July 27th, 1981. His severed head was found 2 weeks later in a drainage canal. Doesn't say anything about his body, so I don't think they ever found his body. Convicted serial killer Otis Toole confessed to Adams' murder but was never convicted of the crime because the evidence was reportedly lost, and Toole later recanted his confession. So, even though he recanted his confession, they still think that Toole did it. Okay. I thought they never knew who did it. But they went to, so yeah, he had several things. He had made several shows, but America's Most Wanted was the big one. And also there was acts of Congress that were passed because he just wouldn't give up. And it wasn't to find him, because they already knew he was dead. Like, they found his head. He was gone. It was to get the guy who did it and to stop it from ever happening. As for Amber, I don't think they ever found her. I don't think they ever found Amber.
Well, they said they know how she died.
They find her body? They just never find the guy. Oh yeah, multiple stab wounds to the throat. So they found her.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Who was the other one that she just disappeared? There was another big one, but they went and they basically annoyed the president so much that he made it a thing, and it's kind of serendipitous in a way. So she was from Texas, and it happened in Texas while Bush was governor. And she annoyed the shit out of the governor to the point that when he became president, that was one of his first things he was going to do, was to get the House and the Senate to agree on an Amber Alert system, because that woman would not leave him alone. And good.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Good. She should not. Which is kind of what they're there to do. We're supposed to annoy them until they do stuff. That's how this system's supposed to work.
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do.
But yeah, she, I didn't know it was used internationally.
Oh, I thought it was just America.
Well, good. Good. It's a good system.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about it is, I guess, the way that it works is it's a statewide thing. So I'll get Amber Alerts all the time, and it'll be like El Paso, and I'm like, that's 2,000 miles away. What am I gonna do? I'm not. That should be a little bit localized, but I'm glad that I'm not annoyed that I'm getting them. I'm just like, we could make these a little bit local, but they just send them out across the state. Texas is pretty big. If it's a smaller state, yeah, but like, El Paso's not 2,000 miles, but it's pretty far away, like 1,100. It's very, very far, and it's like, man, I mean. That's also where they started figuring out that if they are kidnapped, like kids between certain ages, when they're kidnapped, they are usually going to be killed within a certain time, within a time frame, and they're usually in a radius. And because of that, they've been able to find a bunch of them, because they put all of their, it's like, we got 24, 36 hours before they're dead, and we got to go. And then the first 48, they say, is important to catch the killer because it gives them time to get away. But in these cases, it's we're trying to save the person.
Yeah.
After that, you're just working to catch the killer. And because she was found 5 days after, behind an apartment complex. or 4 days after. 5 miles away. She wasn't even that far away. And
I hate that.
If they had been, it's so close that if they had been looking in mass, if the police had actually done their job, like if they had dropped everything and went, probably would have found her.
Yeah.
And there and even the Amber Alert documentary that I watched, I forgot who did it. They had like, here's some video of several Amber Alerts of them getting the kids back, and it's like kicking down doors. It's been like 6 hours and catching people in the act of doing things. It's like, if they hadn't kicked this door in, that kid's dead.
Yeah.
Like, it was about to happen. Like, they caught people as it was happening. And it's like, this system is so important in the fact that we didn't have anything like it before, when we had the ability. And it works. It is not a failure. It actually probably should be like, have more funding and be more robust and be better. And it's had some expansions, like there's silver alerts and stuff like that. It's a great system. It's just horrible the way it got started. It's a horrible event that happened. But she never gave up, and she didn't want anybody else to feel her pain. So she was like, we're going to start this system. And she literally like annoyed 2 different presidents about it.
Good.
It did work. It did. But I thought there was more to this story. So they never did catch the guy. No, that's a different girl. A different other horrible story. Where's the story about Amber? I forgot what video I watched on her, but it was really good. There's a few different channels I follow that they don't post very often. They post when they got something. And it's like, how are we going to depress you today? But that one had a uplifting end. It was like, and because of this horrible event, thousands of children have been saved. I think it's something like a 95% success rate.
God damn, that's good.
It's incredibly high. What's the scary thing about it is the stats before they did it.
Yeah.
It's like the stats before they did it, almost nobody was found. Or if they were found because they made their way back. It's like the chance of the police actually finding somebody before this system, it was very low. And it was like, but after the system, since everybody in God knew, it was great. It's also how we started getting more statistics on abductions. It was certain type of abductions are almost always going to end in death, so there's no witnesses. That's why they were killing them. But they were abducting people specifically so they could do things to them. And then the killing came after.
Yeah.
The killing a lot of times would come as, they say this in a way that's supposed to give some comfort, is they weren't killed, even though sometimes the way that they look gives you different thoughts. It's like they weren't tortured, but things were done to them, awful things, and then they are killed as a way to keep them mouth shut so they can't identify their victim. So that's awful, but just take solace in the fact that they weren't tortured to death. And the reason that you find them mutilated a lot of the times is because they're trying to get rid of a corpse. Because they've seen movies or whatnot, and they go, you gotta chop up body, and then sometimes they can't go through with it all, and they get sick, and then they just throw away what they got. So then you find like half chopped up body, or their head's not all the way cut off. It's horrible shit. But what they go on to explain is they're not doing that because they enjoy it. They did it because they already killed them, so they were dead before this happened, and they think a lot of times it's a bunch of cowards. They think they're big and bad.
Yeah.
And they're like, I could chop up body, and then they try, and then they get so sick and so disgusted and so overwhelmed that then they just stop and give up. But a lot of times that leads to them being found after the fact. So they say take solace in that a majority of these cases, they weren't being tortured. It was they were already killed and things happened after. So even in those that we saw where there was bad things that happened to him, that was even with Amber. It was likely he was trying to dismember her and then was like, no, I can't do it. And it's awful, but it's he likely, because it said she died of strangulation, so she was most likely dead first. And they're just cowards. They're just evil people. And it's like, you think you're so big and bad that you could steal someone's kid and kill them, but then feel too bad that you can't. It's like fuck you. Just throw them in the jail cell and throw away the key. No, what we should do is we should study them so we can stop this. But it's like, but the concerning part about the statistics is a lot of these kidnappings that they find are by family members.
Oh, yeah.
By family members. In murder statistics, almost all murders, or it's like a very, very high percent, are people you know. Usually family.
Yeah, I've heard something about that. Where
Usually
it's
family.
usually like the mom or the dad.
And in these kidnappings, now you would think these are two separate statistics. 'Cause surely, the ones who are kidnapped by their family, they're not the same ones that are being like raped and murdered and tortured and shit.
No, they're probably
the same. The same.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, what it comes down to is a power thing.
Yeah.
Usually if there's a divorce, some kind of argument, they take the kid, they kidnap them, and either they freak out and then they kill him, or they kill him as a power move. That if I can't have them, no one can have them, or just really horrible shit. But that's what's the fucked up part about that is it's not some random boogeyman. It's the people in your house that you need to be afraid of the most. And it's like, fuck. But with the Amber Alert system, we found that out, and that's how we were able to catch a lot of these guys. It's like, where's the uncle? Oh, go get him, and then we find him, or whatever. There's that kidnapping story where the parents... Was it John Benet Ramsey, or is one of the big ones? And they found out that she was... like, her parents were on the news, and were like, oh, please, oh, we gotta get her. And they found out that it was the parents that did it. And they were keeping her...
they actually found out?
Or maybe not John Benet. No, not John Benet Ramsey. It's sad that there's so many of these stories that I get all the names mixed up. Basically, they had kidnapped her and were hiding her in their wall.
Oh. She's
alive. Like when they finally figured it out, they found her. They got her.
Oh, well that's good.
Yeah, crazy. And not
Why
only
did they do it?
Not only that, I fucking no idea. Well, not only that, but they were doing it together with someone else. And like they would like trade her back and forth. It was really weird.
That's just weird.
It's gonna be really scary as I'm gonna type this in. Parents who kidnap their own children, and I'm gonna get a lot of results. Then there was that one girl that they thought was dead, and she escaped. They thought she was dead for like 20 years, something like that, and she escaped. And like one of the ways they identified her, she pointed to a billboard that still had her face on it when she was like 10 or like 13. And they found her. That was crazy. That was nuts. Didn't just find her. Found
that's
her.
Crazy.
Find her. Found her. Okay, that's a daughter who killed her own parents. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay, that's a different one, but this is along the same lines. This was in Austria. Spent over 2 decades.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that
confined to
one.
a dirt wall cellar by the hands of her father. Now, she's alive, and they got her. But there was, man, there's... That's John Benet Ramsey. That's a different one. There was... Yeah, these are all different stories, too. I might be able to find it on YouTube if I can find the... But it was crazy, because it was... They were accusing some neighbor, and it turns out the neighbor did kidnap them, but, like, they were trading the girl back and forth. Like, who got kidnapping rights, and I don't know why they did it.
That's so weird. I'm thinking that was like for fame or something. Like the parents wanted
no idea.
15 minutes of fame or something.
No, not killed, kidnapped. If I see the video, I'll recognize it. Oh yeah, unseen. This is the guy who did it, but that's not the one I'm talking about. Escapes father's death cult. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that. These are all newer, so it's not going to be here. But he doesn't see, like, his release schedule is kind of all over the place. Sometimes months in between videos.
Yeah.
I got real into this guy because he had some really good stories. Oh yeah, and there was that one girl in like it was like Dallas or something, or it was in North Texas. This guy went in and killed everyone. Like they had a sleepover and shit, and like killed everyone and stabbed her as well. And when he cut her neck, he didn't go deep enough, so she just laid there and pretended to be dead. She's like 12.
Oh my god.
To be dead. He leaves. And when she's sure that he's gone, she gets up and calls people. And they come out, and it's like her mom, her dad, her cousin. Everyone's dead. She's the only survivor.
Oh my god.
And she is able to hunt this guy down. And they found him. And when they find him, he confesses immediately. Don't know why he did it. And he even walks them through how he did it and shit. It was awful. Horrible shit. But like she pretended to be dead. And ends up catching that guy. And then there's the Bone Crusher guy. And that kid who survived that is like the craziest shit I've ever heard.
What?
Oh yeah. 10-year-old girl found alive after disturbing slumber party. The case of Crystal Searle. Yeah. She survives after getting her neck slit. As he doesn't do it right. And she survives.
God damn.
I think this one here is the Bone Crusher one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is the Bone Crusher one. This kid, it's an awful story, and this it's a teen killer. It's a teenager who's killing people, and he walks in this kid's house and takes him while he's sleeping. Just picks him up off his couch and walks out the back door. And the kid woke up and then went back to sleep because he thought it was his dad picking him up to carry him to put him in his bedroom.
Oh.
You know, sometimes you wake up and then you go back to bed. He just thought it was his dad because he remembered falling asleep on the couch. Anyway, this kid brings him back to his house and then breaks his legs. And what he likes to do is he likes to repair them just enough so he can break them again. It's awful. They call him the Bone Crusher.
Oh my god.
Fucking awful. And he's already killed several people at this point. And he's locking this kid in a closet while he goes out to party or whatever. And this kid figures out how to break out of the closet. And also while talking to this guy, because this guy talks to them while he's doing this stuff. Because he plans to keep him around for a while so he can keep breaking his bones. And he figures out, one, there's like a dummy phone that's not connected. But he finds out that there's a real phone somewhere in the house because he hears them talking on it at one point in time. This is in the 90s, I believe. So it's all landline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1995. So then he puts together a plan. And his legs are fucked. He he slams himself out of the closet, just slamming his body, and fights through, throwing up, passing out multiple times, excruciating pain, throws himself down the stairs, because they're on the second story, down the stairs, into the kitchen, finds the phone, and he has passed out multiple times. He's currently has sepsis. He's bleeding, like it's bad. Gets on 911, and shock finally sets in that can calm him down. He calls the police in. There's I'm not gonna play it, but there's 911.
Yeah, please don't.
A call in here where he's calling, and they think it's a prank because he's calm. He's like, yeah, I'm in a house with a killer, and he broke my bones, and they're like, what? And they think so. They send one cop down there, and when the guy gets there, it looks like a crack house, and he's like, oh my god, this is bad. And when he gets in, the kid's at the front door, just laying. And he opens the door and everything, and he goes, yeah, there's another dead body. And then he gets him. So already badass 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
When they get him to the hospital and fix him up, they ask him all these questions. They're like, well, you don't have to do this. You don't want to, blah, blah, blah. The first thing he asks is, when can I identify him? And they go, what do you mean? He's like, don't I go to a lineup or something and pick out who did it? And they go, well, we got the guy in the house. He goes, but when do I identify him? When can I testify? All he wants to know is, when can he put this guy in prison?
Well, yeah.
And they ask, it's like, well, you know, aren't you scared of people knowing who you are? But like, no, I want him immediately. And he goes, because I read his journals, and because he kept these journals, and he talked about, he goes, I know there's other kids. And he goes, I know he's killed other people, and I know he's going to kill other people. So I will do, so you have my full cooperation. I'll do whatever I have to do to stop him from killing other kids, because I know he's going to kill other kids because he's named them. So he goes on the stand, and they have this in the court case and all this, blah, blah, blah. While they're waiting to go to trial, or the trial's already started, while they're waiting for him to testify, this guy's friend, the killer's friend, shows up to the kid's house and shoots him in the head.
Oh my god.
Kid survives.
Oh my god.
And identifies both the killer and the guy who shot him on the stand, sends them both to prison for life.
Wow, this kid?
Insane!
Damn.
His parents didn't want him to testify. And they said, well, I'm going to do it now. He's like, I'm definitely going to do it now. He names names. He points out people. He identifies everything. And he got shot in the back of the head.
God damn. This kid.
This kid is cool. And then at the end of this video, they interview him.
Yeah.
He's grown and married now.
Oh, good for him.
He still can't walk right.
Well, obviously.
His legs still fucked up. Where's it where they interview
I mean,
him?
he can
right there.
Still walk. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's good. It's just he walks a little bit weird, and I mean,
Well,
he looks at if you look at
obviously.
one of his legs, like his shin juts out like an angle because it didn't go right. But yeah, he got shot in the head and all like he's
God
like, I asked him,
damn.
it's like, well, why'd you do that? It's like, I wouldn't let that bastard go. He's like, I went through the most unimaginable pain, worst pain I felt in my life, and the thought of someone else having to go through that was worse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. So the whole time he was thinking about other people.
Mm-hmm.
He was thinking about the other people and the other people's families. And he's talking about, like, I just couldn't. He's like, it's bad enough that my parents are going to feel awful if I die like this. He goes, I can't imagine someone else's mother crying. And I'm like, you're a good person. You were absolutely the worst, like, of all the people that this could have happened to. I'm so sorry it happened to you. You're such a good person. That being said, I'm kind of glad because you survived and you were like, I'm going to get that prick. They get, there were death threats and stuff, and he didn't care.
What?
Didn't
Who
care.
was giving him
The
death
guy who
threat?
shot him?
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, all this stuff, because apparently this killer had some friends that were ride or die, apparently. But his whole story about how he not only survived, but got his killer. I remember his girlfriend's name and everything. It's like, oh yeah, it's like Jenny or something. Got them all in prison. Every single one of them. And,
God damn.
all because he survived. And he went above and beyond surviving.
Yeah.
He went above and beyond. And just craziness. And that dude's story is so good. But who was that one where the parents did it? There was one where the parents did it. Oh yeah, 9-year-old solves her own case. That one's pretty interesting. She uses a bunch of TV procedural shit that she saw, like CSI, and like she solves her own case.
God damn.
Yeah, she ends up getting out. It's crazy. Yeah, Will I Live? That's what she writes down. She's in the hospital. She can't talk 'cause there's a hole in her throat.
God damn.
And they're they're asking her some questions. She's writing it down. One of the things she asks is, will she live? And they break down, start crying. It's like, yes, you are fine. You are, believe it or not, like we wouldn't be talking to you like if you were gonna die, because she thought, I believe in that story, she thought she was dead. Like after a while, she started to believe that she was dead.
Oh.
Because everyone else was, and she was covered in blood. So he stabbed her and cut her enough that she bled. She bled a lot, but not enough to kill her. Didn't go deep enough. It just bled a lot. It's superficial. And then, of course, she gets the guy and everything, but she thought she was dead. And probably because of blood loss. Was that the girl on the wall? Was that the one? Hold on. 911 hangs up on girl who escaped kidnapper of 10 years. That's the one. That's, what was her name? What was her name? Amanda Berry. And it wasn't just her. It was, because she was being held captive. And it was her and either one other girl or several other girls. Basically being kept as, like, breeding slaves. It was fucking awful.
Ew.
And she breaks out and saves both of them. And no one, they thought she was dead. She'd been gone over 10 years. They thought she was gone, but she was being kept in this house. Actually, she was being kept in a shed behind the house. And, fucking awful. But where's that one where the parents did it? Or I don't know if they did it or if they were just in on it. Can't remember. Yeah, there's this one. He didn't even kill anybody. What he did is really, really fucked up. But he didn't kill anybody. But they were able to catch this guy. Because of one of the victims was able to remember. So this guy, Cynthia Vigil was one of the victims. She is kidnapped and tortured in just about every way you could think of. Don't need to get into it. No reason to. Just every way you could think of, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
When she woke up in a torture box. It is this. There's actually a picture of it. I believe it's just it's like a dentist chair thing that you're strapped down to, and it's in this container, like a shipping container. And she gets played a recording. And
I think I've heard of this one before. Yeah.
Comply or die. And then him and other people, this guy, I don't know who the guy's name is, it doesn't say. All kinds of shit. Basically if you fight too much, I'm going to kill you, but I don't want to kill you. So if you just take it, you're going to survive. And I know, there's tapes that they play in there because they got all the tapes. He would just play recordings, and he would say, I don't care about you seeing my face or anything else because no one's going to believe you. And he tells all of his plans that he's going to do to her. He says what he's going to do to her, what he's done before, and he tells her why no one's going to believe her. He said, because if you give someone enough drugs, enough certain types of drugs at a certain dosage, and you also combine that with trauma, you'll break their brain, specifically the memory center of their brain. And then you can just release them out into the wild, and they won't remember a damn thing you did to them. All they will remember is that something horrible happened, and that's it. Some will be able to live happily little lives and go on about their business, and others won't. But both will never be able to know what happened. Cynthia breaks out before this happens. She's already been tortured, but before they give her the drugs, breaks out and fights off him and his fiance, gets to the police, and comes back and they get him and found out he did this to a bunch of different people. But he didn't kill anybody because he didn't want to kill anybody. But he was just doing awful things to them and then releasing them after putting them on a bunch of drugs, so where they couldn't remember. But they were remembering, and I believe they talked to some of the other victims who came out after this happened, being like, I knew something happened. I have dreams, but I don't know what it is. And then some of them were like, well, the police found me, but they thought they thought I was high. They thought I was a druggie. And all this other stuff, just horrible shit. They call him the toy box killer, but at this point he wasn't killing people or trying not to kill people. Zero confirmed murders, but up to 60 homicides suspected. That's a lot. That's a 0 confirmed murders, but up to 60 suspected. Active from 1957 to 1999. 3 abuse survivors that they know of. And those are the 2 that came out. Besides her, that were like, hey, this might have happened to me because I have some of these weird memories that keep coming back. And it's because he would just drug them up. And the police either wouldn't believe them because they thought they were, hot, just high and tweaking out, or various other reasons. And it worked, apparently. I didn't realize it was that long. Holy shit. I'm glad you're behind bars. Good lord. But yeah, craziness. And that, shit like that right there is why I have one of my beliefs about aliens. I know that sounds like a weird change of a different subject, but I have all these stories as people come out, oh, I was abducted by aliens and all these horrible things happened to me. Organs were taken out, or I was, probed, or all this. And even though some of them have similar stories, most of them, I can't say for all. Some of them might be experiencing a psychotic episode. Some of them might be experiencing something else. Who knows? Some of them might have been actually abducted. Though some of them do have injuries. The famous one, Fire in the Sky, which they made a movie about, where he talks about being abducted by aliens and them carving his eye out. In a horrific horror movie scene. I don't know why alien shit gets me. Like, nothing else scares me. Alien stuff, alien movies scare me on some weird level, and I don't even care about aliens. I don't even believe in aliens. I believe there's probably other intelligent life, but I don't really believe in abductions. But alien abduction movies, when done well, scare the shit out of me, and I don't know why. That movie has one of the best abduction scenes ever because of that. And that happened to a real guy. He's missing an eye. He's missing, I believe, his left eye. And he's told his story, and they say it's like one of the best, or one of the what the fuck you call it, most, not accurate, most believable alien accounts ever, blah 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 blah. And it was so crazy that it got turned into a book and then a movie. And there you go. There's one of the posters. So they put him on this weird thing and put him in this goo, and then they cut his eye out for some weird reason. And the guy is actually missing his eye, so someone cut his eye out. But my belief is most of these stories is, something obviously horrible happened to them. They're always found in the woods and shit. And what makes more sense? That they were, for some reason, abducted by these weird aliens who then wanted to do weird shit to them, including anal probes for some reason, and then left back on the ground? Or does it make sense that a good majority, if not all of them, were used and abused by some stranger, and then their brain is trying to make sense of it and concocts a different reality? Which is something that does happen. We know that happens. It happens to other people. There are people who experience horrific trauma and their brain breaks. And there's people who've lost children and they forget that their kids are dead. I've seen that. That shit's scary. There are people, or they will, or they refuse to let their bodies go, or they will treat inanimate objects as their children. So it's their brain's broken, which I can only imagine the horrible pain that someone goes through, losing a child. So I can imagine that would break your mind. But we know that can happen. Well, and a lot of these events, especially since a lot of their stories are the same. A lot of the weird torture methods that these aliens do are very similar. It makes sense that what if they were abducted by a person or persons who did some weird shit to them out in the woods and then dumped them off, maybe filling up the drugs, maybe not. So the trauma fucks with their brain and commits a story, or makes up a story in their mind to make sense of the horrible thing that happened. Because the reality is too horrible to deal with. The fake version is easier. The aliens did it. The evil aliens did it, not these people. Maybe not even the people that I know did this to me. What's easier reality? The evil aliens did it, or a loved one did this to me? Someone I trusted did this to me. The aliens is better. That's easier for me to believe. And you'll see people do this with all kinds of things, especially childhood trauma that comes back. And they'll be like, I thought it was this or that. And I was, oh no, that was someone getting to you as a kid. It's like, holy shit, I've experienced that. Where I thought I was having nightmares about some weird event. It turns out that it was memories. And then I have to go to my mom. She's like, oh, I didn't ever think you were going to remember that. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean? I just horrible shit like that. That I haven't ever talked about publicly and won't. Because those people are still alive. But like, it makes a lot of sense that that's what's happened. Who knows? Maybe some of them actually did get abducted by aliens. I doubt it, but that seems to make a lot of sense, especially if you look at the areas where this happens. A lot of similar areas, heavily wooded, or either heavily wooded or barren. Places where there's no life. A place where someone would go if they wanted to do something bad and don't want anybody to know about it. Like the Texas killing fields. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they still don't know what the fuck's up with that. That's weird. I was writing a story about them too, but it kind of fell apart. I was going to try to mix it with some other stuff, but the killing fields is a awfully fascinating story. It's, they don't know why people keep coming back there, other than that it's just secluded. Are you okay? Do I need to turn you back on? Did the switch get flipped? What's wrong?
Awesome.
You tired?
Not really.
Why not? You've worked all day.
Yeah.
You don't got anything to talk about?
Not much.
I thought you were going to say more than that. I was taking a bigger drink.
Oh, sorry, I guess.
Just saying not much.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm scared to watch this movie.
Why?
I told you, aliens. I don't know why. Alien movies terrify me.
Maybe it's the idea of something so foreign to everything that you know.
Maybe it's the idea of getting abducted, shit getting done to you without being able to do anything about it.
Yeah, because... yeah, I could see that, yeah.
You know, with some prior history that I have, that might make sense. I don't know. Signs ruined me. Signs is fucking terrifying. I don't know why. Just alien stuff. It would make sense if I believed in aliens or thought that abductions were happening and shit like that. Because if you believe that that's real, it would make... Of course you'd be scared. You could be the next person.
Yeah.
But I don't. But that stuff is scary to me, and I don't know why. It's like religious stuff isn't really that scary to me. Mainly because they get a lot of shit wrong. But like, though, a really well done religious horror or exorcist horror can scare the shit out of me like nothing else. Outside of aliens. I don't know what the fuck the aliens thing is. But it has to be done very well. And it's usually when they don't go too much into the belief system. Because once they start showing that they don't know what the hell they're talking about, it falls apart. But if they stay surface level and it's usually something happening to people and they don't know what's happening, then it's scary. Like the the what are those Conjuring movies? The Warrens are a bunch of frauds.
Well, yeah.
But the Conjuring movies do have some genuinely terrifying stuff, and it's all the stuff that's happening to the family. Once the Warrens are there, I don't care. But when it's happening to the family and they don't know what's happening, that fear of something's after me, something's after my family, and I don't know what it is, those movies do it really well. But then once the Warrens show up, or it's about some stupid weird nun ghost, I don't care. That's not scary anymore. But religious horror can be scary. It just has to get past all my bullshit first.
The first Omen we watched.
The first Omen? Yeah.
That was terrifying.
It's a bad name for that movie.
Yeah,
because there are 2 Omen movies. Well, there's multiple.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Omen movies, and there's also a remake of the Omen. So saying something called The First Omen. But yeah, that was good. I wasn't scared by it, but I thought it was good.
It was really scary. I really liked that one. I don't like haunted ghosts movies. I don't really like that.
That was more of a haunted coochie movie.
Okay.
That did happen. You can't, no saying that happened.
But that one I really did like.
Apparently there's more to that scene they had to cut out because of ratings.
Why?
Apparently it was more graphic. The whole hand.
Oh, the hand coming out
that
of
whole
her?
thing. Apparently that goes on a lot longer.
Oh. Well.
I'll say that was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was kind of scary.
Because I could feel it. I see stuff and my brain makes me feel pain. So like that hurts. But like, I wasn't scared. Though, let's say the certain stuff that actually makes me scared, that might keep me up at night, is some true crime stuff, because it's true. Or certain horror movies, if they're realistic. They're a little bit too realistic. And they make you think. But if it's something, like, out of supernatural stuff, nothing gets me. Except aliens. And I don't know why. Like, it'll make me think twice before going to bed. And I'm like, why? Why is Signs making me go? Signs is done so well.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
There is a scene that actually happened in real life a few years ago. It's the invasion has started. And for a while now, they have known that something's happening. And because they see it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that aliens are here. So the invasion starts. And they all sit down in front of the TV. They're watching like CNN. And it's Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of lights in the sky. A bunch of big lights. And there's the announcer talking about them. And saying like they keep popping up more and more. We've been looking in the same place in the sky for the last 2 hours. Nothing's changed except that more keep showing up. There's that, and it's all this general news talk, and it's just a family sitting in front of a couch watching it, coming to the understanding that the world's about to end. Like the world is, as they know it, is over. Their aliens are invading. This is happening. And a few years ago, there was an event in Mexico City that was on CNN. The exact same shit. There were lights in the sky. And it was drones. But they didn't know. They couldn't make contact with them. They couldn't figure out what was going on.
Damn.
And it got on live TV, and it was like, we don't know what's happening. We don't know if it's an invading force. There was also war tension because Russia was being stupid. And it was, it looked exactly like the scene in Signs. And I'm sitting there watching it on my phone like, oh my God, this is happening. And it happened to be something else. But I'm like, so everyone's like, what is it? It's like, well, it's either Russians or it's the aliens. We're not really sure. And now, when it happened in New Jersey, no one gave a shit.
Well, it's New Jersey.
The drone, weird shit. No one gave a shit. No one gave a shit. I was just like, what are these drones? Stop looking at me while I'm naked. You know, It was like, who gives a fuck? And it was like, that government are trying to spy on me or something. Like, no one cared. Kind of like when the official alien stuff came out by the Navy. No one gave a shit. No one gave a shit. Like, they paying rent.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? Was it this one? When there was... I want pictures of it.
Ooh.
Lights in the sky seen after earthquake.
That's interesting. crushed quartz.
Yeah, it's probably something that got just shot out of the air after the earthquake.
Yeah.
But there was a bunch of different ones. Yeah, meteors light up sky over Mexico City, and it's this shot here. There's a shot of it, and you see the city in the background. It's all grainy. Why is this Chinese? Why am I on Chinese Yahoo, of all places? So yeah, you have these lights here. Like a meteor or something. We don't know what it is, and it gets real big. And then there's multiple views. And I remember seeing pictures of it and videos and the news story coming over, and it's just this shot of Mexico City, and you see all the lights, and you see the lights in the sky. It's like, what are these lights in Mexico City? And then
yeah, we have to watch it.
if I can find it. It's a slow burn. It's a slow burn. It also is definitely scarier out here.
Oh yeah.
Because it happens in the country. Like
we live out.
They're
Yeah.
farmers. They live in the middle of a cornfield.
Oh, that's the worst place for an alien movie. Because they're
That's
going to
where the circles start happening,
Yeah.
which is what starts the movie.
they're going to make the circles in your corn crop, bruh. That's annoying.
I don't want the one where the alien walks out. I want the. Yeah, look, more orbs. This
Orbs.
is also in Mexico City.
Damn.
But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the one. And
What
then
be happening?
mysterious lights
in-
spotted in Houston. Shit like this.
Yeah.
See, that started all happening around the same time, and all I could think of is this scene in Signs where they're watching it
What be happening in Mexico
on TV.
City with all these lights? They're all just drones? Or like maybe military
where
stuff
was it?
going on? Maybe a ship, not a ship, but like a plane or something.
I wish I could find a picture of just this scene. I don't want to watch it. I just want to see this specific picture where they're all sitting down watching TV, and it shows that same Mexico City skyline, but with a bunch of lights and shit. And it's like, and this is Mexico City, and it's like the aliens, they're coming, and it's like, oh my god. And then you find out that all we needed was a super soaker, and we could have beat the whole fleet. But whatever, for whatever reason, they decided to invade a water world. Because I guess they didn't know. Otherwise, that was a bad move. They're allergic to water.
Oh.
That's the thing. Which, as a bad plan. God, that scene's so fucking scary. And that alien walks out. 'Cause he's hiding. He's hiding in the bushes. Also in Mexico.
Damn.
Yeah, they don't like Mexico. Man, think about that. There's a lot of... The movie does not take place in Mexico.
Yeah.
The movie takes place...
That's pretty dope.
somewhere where they're farming corn. I actually don't know. Where does Sign take place? They might be in Nebraska? That makes sense. They're the corn huskers. I guess we'll end on this. It's been a while. But I gotta figure out when it takes place. Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Oh. I always thought it was somewhere else. Anyway, nowhere near Mexico.
What?
Nowhere near Mexico.
That's upsetting.
It's in Pennsylvania.
Damn.
Wait, what? Okay, I'm confused. You already knew it was in Pennsylvania before I said nowhere near Mexico. Where did you think Pennsylvania was beforehand?
Up near New York, that area?
Yeah, which is nowhere near Mexico.
Well, I just read it there and I said it.
This person is hurting me. Anyway, there's a lot of weird scenes that take place in Mexico. Or about... They don't even take place. The scenes themselves don't take place. They're watching the news and it's about Mexico. I don't know why. Some shit's going down in Mexico. The aliens like it. saw Latinas, and we're like, fuck, we gotta go there. And then
Damn. Okay, Colby. Okay.
a few Coronas, hang out.
Okay then.
It's more like Modelos, but whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, it's been over 3 hours for this welcome back episode. We've covered a lot of different topics, both happy and not so happy. Both weird and sad and depressing. Mostly sad and depressing, because that's just the state of mind we're in right now. I blame Scarlet. We didn't even talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'm depressed about that right now.
See?
I don't even want to finish watching it. I don't want to watch the end.
I guess it's depressing because Michelle Trachtenberg died.
Also,
suddenly. That was very sad.
Spoiler alerts, but season whatever we are on right
7,
now,
the last season.
Spike, that shit is bullshit.
Yes, Spike is bullshit. I told
I liked
you.
him.
I told you were going to hate
know.
it. And
I
you
know.
were like, I don't think I am. I was like, just wait when he rapes Buffy. And you're like, that's not gonna happen. And it happens. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I told you it was going to happen. And
Multiple
it ruins
times.
the show, doesn't it? Ruins everything.
It ruins a lot of stuff for me, to be
I'm not
honest.
saying something because season 6 wasn't great. It's got some moments in it, but
I liked everything leading up to that whole plot line.
Like kill Tara.
Yeah, out of nowhere. But like Spike, before he attacked Buffy, I liked him as a character of, oh, he's a kicked puppy vibe going on, or he's got this kicked puppy situation going
Why do you
on.
want to kick puppies so much? I don't get it.
No, he's like acting
Gotta
like
watch
that
them when they're wanting to kick
because
puppies
you
so much.
know he's got that chip in his brain. But then once he figures out that chip doesn't work against Buffy anymore, he sexually assaults her.
Multiple times
Yes.
throughout the season.
Yeah. And the show, it's so gross.
Yeah, it's
The
it's
show
weird.
treats it as if we're supposed to be feeling sorry for him about it. Like, the show, it's hard to describe, but it's like they're trying to make us on his side in this next season. Like, oh, he's got his soul back or whatever, which...
Well, he went through the trials to get his soul
whatever.
back so he could prove to Buffy, so he could be punished. However, so Buffy the Vampire Slayer sets up a canon and rules for its vampires, and then immediately forgets about it.
Yeah.
Why is Spike acting the same when he has his soul back? Because a vampire is not the person. They are a demon inhabiting the person's body.
Yeah.
The person's soul is gone. But they keep forgetting about that. They keep, and not just Spike. There's other vampires that act like the same people when they're not. And the only one that shows you that they are completely different, besides the Master, though we don't know what he used to be, is Angel.
Yeah.
Angel is 100% a different person.
Yeah, he does like a 180 flip.
Because he is a different person. Angelus is a different person than Angel. Because Angel is the soul. Like, he has his soul. Whatever. Angel's great. We should watch Angel. I don't like a lot of stuff they did. I don't like what they did with Xander and Anya and breaking them up. I don't like what they did.
Oh, yeah. I hate that.
I didn't think they needed to kill Tara. I don't like everything. I think they did some weird shit with Dawn. I don't know why they had to get rid of Giles.
Oh, yeah.
He's just, I'll be there sometimes. I don't know. And it's almost over, and that's it for Buffy, unless you want to read the comics.
I don't want to watch it anymore.
Unless you want to read the comics,
No.
and then also the new show
The new show, maybe.
that they're hastily rewriting because one of their main cast members just passed away.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But like,
Yeah.
what do you? When you watch Angel, Angel's pretty badass. Angel's ending is weird because it just ends. That's just ends. Just ends. In the middle of a fight. Credits. But like, it's I love that show. I love Angel more than Buffy.
Well, I've been watching this show. I want to put this on here. I've been watching this show called Yellow Jackets.
Oh, dear Jesus.
Alright, so I've watched season 1 and season 2. I'm waiting to watch season 3 when all the episodes are out so I could just buy them all together. Oh my god. I kind of knew what the show was about before getting into it. Which is, by the way, cannibalism. Oh my god. The end of season 2. It's so good. It's such a good show. God, I love it so much. It's such a good show. Yeah.
I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
Well, there's
Which of your stupid cannibal shows?
yeah, well, it's about cannibalism, it's about survival, you know, it's about this soccer team
Surviving
of
the
girls, and 2 boys and a few coaches. They get on a plane, and then the plane crashes on this massive land, right? So the survivors of the plane crash are now having to survive in the wilderness. This wilderness that is like extremely vast. Like they've even tried to go out and search for civilization, which doesn't work. They do end up getting saved, but the perspective is being told like going back and forth to the adult timeline where they're all saved and they are going on with their lives, back to when they were in the wilderness, because in the wilderness everything just goes crazy. Everything goes bad. Trigger warning for the death of a child happens in season 2, I believe.
Stop beating kids.
No, that was a storyline for a while.
I'm going to clip that.
The teen mom, she's the one who has the kid. She has a hallucination that her classmates eat her just born child because they ate her best friend. That is a real thing that happens in that show.
Alright.
They don't actually eat the baby because the baby was just...
I'm going to clip that.
It's a terrifying
I'm going to
show.
clip that where you say no to me, suggesting you don't eat children. I'm going to clip
What?
that. Yes.
No, don't do that.
Yes,
That's
going
scary.
to become a new. That's going to become a new live stream sound for the soundboard. I already used the other one I recorded a long time ago.
Okay, so... But the show...
Every time someone subscribes.
No. But the show is about how everybody deals with trauma in their own unique ways. Like every single character, Colby, has their own specific unique problems. With the cannibalism thing, how they feel and how they deal with that, and how they deal in their adult timelines.
Now, how I deal with eating children, I don't do it. That's how I deal with it. It's pretty easy.
Okay, Colby.
I just don't eat children.
Please don't clip that. That makes me feel horrible.
Can't believe it. No child eater over here.
Ew, that's disgusting.
Don't try to deny it now.
Anyways, no, but the show is really a good depiction on
Can't believe
trauma.
you do that. Continue your thought. It'll be the last thing that we do because I have a headache, and it's almost been. Good lord! It's almost 3.5 hours.
But the show is really good on how trauma works. It's honestly I would argue my best thing I have seen in any media portraying trauma, because trauma works differently for almost everybody. So that's what I'm going to put there.
I'm gonna make you watch The Last of Us. Watch you cry.
No.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I've
Season
heard
2's coming out soon.
I have heard some spoilers from her, and I do not like it.
Don't worry. I'm gonna watch the whole show. It's gonna be really sad because you're gonna watch probably one of the greatest episodes of TV ever made in its third episode, and nothing after that lives up to that. So the rest of the show's great. You take that episode out, you still have a great show. 5-star show, right? Problem is that one episode is better than anything else that they do. It's so good, and it comes in the middle of the series, and man, does it make you wish that everything else was as good as that. Because until then, everything gets better. It's like first episode's good, second episode's better, third episode's better. Nothing's as good as the third episode. Third episode. Oh my god, I wish it was a movie. It's just so. Oh god, that third episode's so good. Poor Bill. Anyway, you done?
Yeah.
I haven't eaten, so I have a headache from the low blood sugars. I did not expect this to go this long, but we haven't done one of these in a while, so. Okay, well, I haven't ended it yet. What are you doing?
Well, I thought you
Don't just start moving and putting shit up to where you can hear all that.
I thought you were doing your outro.
I am doing the outro, but you're moving it. All that can be heard. Anyway, also, you're not going to say goodbye?
I already said my stuff.
All right, whatever. Whatever. This was like working with amateurs.
Okay.
Anyway, didn't expect it to run this long. Though it's a podcast, so you don't have to listen to it all in one go. Who cares, right? But we're back. We're going to try to do these whenever we can. At least once a month, if not more. I already have a other weekly show, plus there's the live streams and the videos that we upload. Got to do more Clock Tower. I know that.
Shit.
And not tonight, but we're going to do more Clock Tower. And Clock Tower 3. And we got all kinds of stuff coming. But we thank y'all for listening. And we'll see y'all in the next one.